Good job, Peter.
Grab him by the neck.
Scruff of the neck.
Steve wants you.
They must be doing Heritage.
Yeah, this
Commission
is just
across the
more or
street
less.
there. Yeah, I think that's the one that they have to
Reading
get in for the early bird
think it's
special, right? 'Cause
reading.
it's like
I think
Chet and
that's what it is.
Marilyn and that crew.
So,
And they have right after the early bird
somebody's,
special, so they
after I
can
get through the meeting schedule, somebody will
Yeah,
have
that's
to
all
motion
right.
to open for a public
The
hearing.
first time I called.
Gotcha. Don't we have the,
I really would like Paul here.
don't we have the,
Debate him?
non-public hearing?
No, that was pushed.
I'm in trouble with you
Tuesday.
sitting here. I think you gotta move to the other side.
Oh, you didn't get an email, they
There was an email that went out.
didn't have the information or something due to the issues going
Wait a
on.
minute, we don't have a meeting Tuesday, do we?
Yeah.
We do have a meeting Tuesday.
No, we don't.
February 7th. It
Just-
said January
should.
24th, though. The email said
We
January.
don't have a meeting.
Okay, meetings. Sorry to interrupt you guys.
Nope, we're ready.
February 7th?
We have one before that.
I have one before that with God.
We have a tech meeting next week, Ron, on Tuesday.
You should have one on the 20.
We have one on the 20,
I
The
thought it said
agenda doesn't list it.
I
Let me
thought it
get-
said 24th, Nate.
not this Tuesday coming, but the next
I thought the 24th.
24th, yes.
24th, we have a meeting.
Which
Yes,
is January 25th.
That's what the
not
email said,
February
too.
yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right,
That's what I guess.
yeah, I assume.
Boy, I was looking at
But
that and
they
saying,
have
wow.
from that time.
See? Got a copy.
thought you were on vacation, huh?
Yeah, well, it would make up for the last week.
What do you mean, week?
Yeah.
3 months.
I was getting lonely not seeing Dan's face every night.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, right.
For the other two. They have a vested interest, yeah.
Oh,
And
man.
just so everybody knows, we are just waiting for Paul because this is a very important public hearing. And we'll begin after he's settled. Another minute, we'll start. Sorry to, thanks, John. That's okay. Well, everybody's looking at you. At least the camera's not on, so. The red light's on. Okay. I'd like to call together this concurrent meeting of School Administrative Unit Number 12 and the Londonderry School District Board on Tuesday, January 12th, 2006 at 7 p.m. And could Cindy Rice Conley lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you'd remain standing one moment, please. I'd like to just have a moment of silence for Fred Harlander. Fred passed away this week, and Fred's wife and daughter, Beth and Catherine LeSueur, are both teachers in North School. And if you would, I'd appreciate your thoughts for Bob Hopkins' family as they work through his health care and issue in Boston. Thank you very much. The meetings coming up, January 24th is a regular meeting. Tuesday, February 7th is a regular meeting. Both of those meetings are here in this room at 7 o'clock. On Friday, February 10th, a very important date, and it's a Friday, so it's not a usual meeting night in the town. At 7 o'clock, we will have the deliberative session in the Londonderry High School cafeteria. The charter provides that we need 500 voters, registered voters, or 4%, whichever is less, to come to that meeting in order for there to be a quorum. In the town of Londonderry, New Hampshire, and the school district, the legislative body is the citizens of the town. And it is critical that you come to that meeting. If there is not a quorum, if there's not 500 individuals that come, The public will not be able to make any changes to the warrant article. However, the board will be allowed to make changes. So we would appreciate it if you could come to that. There'll be a regular meeting on Thursday, February 21st at 7 o'clock in this room. And that's a Tuesday, February 21st.
24th.
I said Thursday, sorry. Is it 21st or 24th?
We're not 21st on it,
Okay.
February.
February 21st. Another item of note, the filing period for elective office is January 25th through February 3rd. And to make arrangements to file for office, you would contact Lynn McDonald, the school district clerk, at 437-2715. If you'd like further information, you can do so here at the Londonderry School District office at 432-6920, extension 103. Once again, that was extension 103. And there are 2 elected positions open this year, and they are both for members of the school board, and they're 3-year terms. Another note, Lynn McDonald will be at the school district offices from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock on the last day for filing, February 3rd, to take any final people that would like to put their hat in the ring for that. But feel free to give her a call earlier if you wish.
Steve, you might add, you need $1.
Oh, yes, great point. As a matter of fact, that's how I ended up on the Budget Committee. I went to Town Hall, and I didn't have any money with me, so you needed $1 to run for Town Council, so I ended up on the Budget Committee. You don't need $1 for Budget Committee. So. You also need $1 for the school board. So bring $1 with you, and a check's not allowed. It actually has to be cash, I believe. So bring your $1 with you if you'd like to run for school board. And isn't it great to live in New Hampshire?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we open the public hearing on the operating budget and all other warrants.
Second.
We have a first and a second to open the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The public hearing is now open. We're going to go over, we already went over Article 1, which is election of officers, and that's for 2 members of the school board for 3 years. We'll begin with Article number 2. Shall the voters of Londonderry School District vote to raise and appropriate as an operating budget for the fiscal year 2006 through 2007, not including appropriations by special warrant articles or separate warrant articles, one of the following amounts for the purposes set forth in the budget posted with a warrant. You may select and vote for only one at the polls. The school board budget, as amended, which is what we're voting on tonight, will be $55,187,150. Or you may vote on the default budget, which is $55,602,413. The estimated tax impact of the school board budget as amended is $11.74 per thousand. Should you choose to vote for the default budget, the estimated tax impact would be $11.88. And a note on this, Article 2, the operating budget does not include appropriations proposed under any other article in this warrant. I'd like to open up to the board for conversation, comments on the operating budget. Dan?
I'll make a motion to move it to the deliberative session.
Second.
You know what?
I got a comment. I was wondering if Peter could explain, because we had the open item of the $112,000. Can you explain exactly where it comes in the budget and what it did, just for the public?
If you go to the tax rate sheet, which is like the 3rd page on the budget hearing, if you want to get there.
Go ahead,
Go
Peter.
to the local receipts line section. You see a line in there that we added, transfer from capital projects, 112,000. The way this has to work is, I'll use simple numbers. Let's assume, for example, if we close the North School project and there's $500,000 left over. And the principal of the North School project is $250,000 a year. The proper way to do this would be to move the whole $500,000 from the capital projects fund. So in effect, you're closing the capital projects fund. You move the $500,000 to reserve encumbrances for debt service. If you hear the term unreserved fund balance, the unreserved fund balance on the school side is the one that automatically gets returned to the taxpayers when you set the tax rate. The unreserved fund balance is when you hear the town use money from unreserved fund balance to fund fire trucks or capital items or whatever. You've seen that in the last couple items. Where this money would go is the term reserved for debt service. And what you do is each year you would take up to the amount of the principal of the North School bond from the reserve fund balance and treat it as a revenue or transfer in to the operating budget. So what we did here for this time, for this fiscal year 2007, since we talked about 112, there's a line, that's why it says transfer from capital reserve, $112,000. So it shows up as a revenue, and it has a tail, if you will, back to a transfer from capital projects to offset the debt for the North School bond project. And that's the proper way of doing this.
Okay. Any further questions from the board? I do have a first, and I'll wait for a second for a moment. Any questions from the public? This is a public comment session, so if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on any of these articles, we'd be happy to have you do it. If you would like to do so, if you please come to the front where there's a microphone and speak directly into the microphone. I appreciate it for the people at home. Seeing no public comment, I have a motion and I'm looking for a second.
Second.
First motion and a second to move Article number 2 to the deliberative session. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Do we
Go
do we
ahead.
need to do a recommendation also on that before we go to the next one?
Are you talking about presentation?
We have to do the presentation, but
Well, the recommendation was,
Okay. What the board would do now is
Right, right.
decide who's going to make the motion at the school district meeting, who would second, and who would make presentation.
the question that he was referring to is, moving it to the floor, we have now recommended it by the school board, in this case, 5-0.
That's correct.
That was what the question that Ron
Yes.
had. For those of you that don't know, the deliberative session and also on the town side, it's scripted when you come to town meeting. So sometimes we do this in other sessions and meetings, and this evening, in order to provide the documentation all wrapped up, we're going to write down who's going to motion this, second it, who will present it, and then if the Budget Committee would like to give us an idea on people tonight, they can do that, or we can take that via email.
It'll have to be via email. We're all meeting next week as a group.
All right.
So if you could do that, we can have a full committee.
Yep, no, that works great. I think that'd be better, that way that
Otherwise,
everyone
the
can
Three of
discuss.
us will pass the work off to the four of them.
That's right. Just like at home. Okay, the motion for this operating budget?
I can do that.
George? Second?
Sure.
Paul, second? Presentation?
Nate generally makes his
Typically,
presentation.
Nate.
Them get the, caption.
Great. Article number 3, South School modular classroom replacement and building renovations. Shall the voters of the Londonderry School District vote to raise and appropriate an amount not to exceed $112,000 for the purpose of architectural and engineering services for South School modular classroom replacement and renovations. Such funds shall come from the June 30, 2006 year-end surplus, The purpose of the article is to fund only architectural and engineering services to replace the existing modular classrooms located at South School. Before we do that, would anyone like to translate this and the reason that this is being done this way?
Sure.
Peter?
Two things. I'll speak on to why the article is here. Last couple projects, it is the idea of funding architectural engineering services before the actual project really came to fruition at the high school when you have in before you a set of plans that can be bid on and bid on tight, where contractors have a fair amount of understanding of what the scope of the project is. And that's what this is here, is to get a fair amount of plans so that when we're ready to actually do the construction and issue a bond, that when contractors understand what we're doing, 80% or a high percentage of the plans are already done, and they have a better understanding of what the project entails, and so we can have tighter bid specs and accurate bid specs. The reason why we're funding it through surplus is about a week ago, the state informed us that we would be receiving about $147,000 more in catastrophic aid than was originally reported to us back in September. So automatically, that creates $147,000 surplus. Since we can't use that money, it comes in as revenue, and it cannot be used for any other purpose. So by that issue from the state, we'll simply use 112 to 147,000 to fund this plan.
I think it would be helpful for the public to understand that this is architectural and engineering fees light. And what I mean by that is it's not the normal full plan set and core samples and
Right.
the whole
But
thing.
The purpose of it is to get as much of the specs and engineering services so that when we're ready to start bidding out the project to present how much, a bond we need to raise, we have a much tighter and understanding, and the contractors have a much better understanding of what the project is. And so a better price, or a good price, or a good guaranteed maximum price, is the term we've used, can be set and presented in a bond article.
So the voters are presented with a more accurate figure.
Right, so that you don't think there's no granite or no ledge, for example, and then you start working and you find the whole area that you had planned to put the new module is all ledge. Hopefully those type of surprises are identified and addressed.
Paul, do you have a question?
Yeah, Peter, is our estimate that this is just a portion of what we're going to need for A&E?
Yes, this is by no means the full amount of the entire project of architectural engineering. It's simply to get a good set of plans started to allow the contractors to bid it, and then we get a better accurate number, or a good number of what a guaranteed maximum price would be for the project, so that we don't overbid it. We don't put a bond up for $6 million and we only needed $4 million, or the other way around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this is not to say this is the total price of architectural and engineering services. This is to get a good start and get a good feel for what a good guaranteed maximum price for the scope of the project we're looking to do would be.
So are we going to, assuming once this passes, then, are we going to go out and plan to use approximately this amount, or do we already anticipate having to add some operating budget expenses?
The only other dollars that would be available to be used, and it's part of the plan, is in Phase 2 of South School, and you can use this because it's still part of South School. There is $88,000 of available funds that can be used for South School renovations. And so the 88 plus the 112, that's why the number's 112, gets you to a number of $200,000.
Okay, so our rough estimate is that we're going to need about $200,000
Right.
in total.
And what I would conceive is the superintendent of the school board putting together a space needs committee and using up to $200,000 to understand that the size of the project, where we want to put it, do some architectural engineering plans based on what we want to do, and then those plans are given to, I'll use the example, Procon as example, who then bid out and get us a tight guaranteed maximum price. Then that guaranteed maximum price, if the board approves, is then put on the warrant as a bond article, and then we move forward to a building committee.
You've been taking those for 3 years.
Thank you for that. I guess I'd like to suggest we add a clarification sentence or two to this to indicate that our best estimate is that the total cost of going out for bid for the A&E at this time is about a couple $100,000, and that part of it will be funded from operating expenses and part of it will be from this. Could we consider something like that?
Ron, did you want to speak now?
Well, I was going to speak on something else, but it's not really coming out of operating expenses. It's coming out of a bond, or not a bond, it's coming out of a fund, which is a little bit different than saying it's coming out of operating expenses. If I said operating expenses, it would be coming out of our general budget, and it's not coming out of the general budget.
Okay, it's money that was in operating and now it's in a fund.
No,
No.
it was never in operating.
The mold
The $88,000
replacement.
would be coming out of the
Remediation.
supplemental appropriation fund that was used for the South School indoor air quality project.
All right. I guess my main point is that we're going to be spending more than $112,000 for architectural and engineering expenses, and I'd like to get across that fact, that some of it's coming from the fund, some of it's coming from this $112,000. In total, it's going to be about $200,000. Could we clarify that it's not all the public sees here is $112,000 we're going to be spending? I'd like to give them the greater context that this contributes the majority of approximately $200 we expect is going to have to be spent to go out for A&E.
Nate, by charter, are we allowed to put clarification in our own,
I think you can put a
under our
note.
own articles?
You put a note.
You can put a note.
And if we were to put a note, would we need to have a motion to modify this article?
I think if you use it, you're not modifying the article, you're just adding a note to it, similar to the note that you see underneath Article 2.
Okay, my question is, the direction I'm taking, you would need that, the exact wording of that note this evening? If that's the question, would
I
you?
can write it up now and say, the South School.
Do you have a?
Well, Nate's writing that.
Yeah.
Is that going to confuse the issue? Is that going to muddy the water? Because what we're really asking the people to approve is $112,000, not $200,000.
Well, certainly, my intent is not to muddy, but to
Yeah.
clarify.
Well, I understand that.
So maybe once we hear what Nate has written, be able to feel if you're comfortable with that.
Since this is a public hearing, the Budget Committee would like to comment. John?
Well, and the $88,000 was approved as part of the vote last year for the $1.5 million for renovations to South School and for infrastructure improvements to South School. So, whether you just carry and identify the 88 comes from that or leave it alone, but it is approved money, and it was approved for South School, and it's being used on South School.
Right.
So, I'm not sure if it is going to make it a little more confusing to say, well, it's $200,000, we only need $112,000 because $88,000 is coming from some other project that we didn't finish. Well, if that's the case, why didn't you just say $200,000 and identify where the $200,000 came from? You know what I'm saying? If you're going to do that, probably would have been better off to begin with identifying it as $200,000 and such funds to come from the North School renovations and $88,000 come from the South School air quality.
Right, except that we don't have to approve that 88,000, right? That's already out there.
That's right, it's already been approved by the voters.
Right.
So, I don't know why you'd want to add it to the article. It's being used on the same school that it was approved for.
Well, I guess just my concern is reading this, I take from this as a voter who doesn't go to a lot of these meetings, necessarily watch these things, is trying to get some sense of how is money being spent in the district.
No, I understand, but in reality, the actual full A&E, unless I'm mistaken, is probably going to cost closer to $400.
That's correct.
Okay, so what you're identifying here is, only a portion of it because there's funds that are available which would have no tax impact. But the real A&E is going to be 400. I would guess it's usually 10% of the project. On the CIP, the project is $4 million with $400,000 of A&E. So, I don't know if how you can get beyond the 112 if your real number is 400.
And the intent of this article is to simply provide us a vehicle in which to transfer these funds, since we must do that with, the voters must approve it. I think Dan wanted to speak.
I was going to mention that very point, that if, I understand what you're attempting to do, Paul, but it would still be somewhat misleading, because if people interpret that 112 is the totality of the money, it's not. And John already was very verbose in indicating. So
100's not either.
I think,
And 200.
exactly. So I think when we make the presentation, as we've done in the past, the presentation is the point where you have the clarity added to it. Albeit, not everybody that's voting in the ballot box is going to watch the presentation, but I just think it does muddy the waters no matter what we write, because if I wasn't paying much attention, I'd say, oh, it's 200,000. If I were the same individual that's saying it's 112, and it's neither, really. All we're trying to do with the warrant is raise a sum of funds to begin the A&E project in a little bit more fortuitous or forthright fashion than we had to respond a little bit more expediently up at North School.
Right.
And that's all we're attempting to do. Remember, this project is slated in the CIP, if I'm not mistaken, for 2008 or 9. 9. So we could add even further clarity next year if there was some confusion.
Let me go to John before I come back to the board.
No, and it's probably too late, because if you modify this article, you have to have another public meeting, right? It probably should have said for the purpose to fund a portion of the architectural and engineering studies, and not, because it does, if you read it, it does actually sound like, to Paul's point, now that I read it again, it sounds like it's funding it doesn't say it's funding the entire, but it doesn't say it's only funding a portion. And it probably should have said for the purpose of funding a portion of the architectural and engineering studies.
Why don't we make the note say that?
That makes sense in the note.
You can do that without changing it, add it in the note, it's going to fund a portion.
And I think that gets to your point, Paul.
Yeah.
Nate, are you prepared to read that note?
Well, yeah, without John's, this is what I had so far. An additional $88,000 from the South School mold remediation process will be utilized to supplement the $112,000 appropriation on this warrant article for, I can stick in, partial A&E services.
I like the way John said
I
it
think the
better.
board, it just should say, note, this will fund a partial architectural and engineering study for South School.
And leave it at
That's
that.
it.
Okay, well,
That identifies that the 112 is only a partial, whether it's 200, whether it's 190, it identifies it, and I think that just solves the
Right,
problem.
because otherwise we'd have to clarify that 200 is only a partial of the 400 that'll be
And it gets-
necessary should the voters, right?
what'd you say, John?
This article will fund a portion of the architectural and engineering services for South School modular classroom replacement. That's all. It's just
Or
clarifies,
only a portion.
only a portion.
To obtain I think you need to put, to obtain a guaranteed maximum price for the project. That's that's really the purpose of doing it.
Well, it's a portion of the total, estimated total project.
Right, but the
Right, to obtain the guaranteed maximum price.
price, the GMP.
I'm not sure how deep, you guys can decide how deep you want to go. I think if you
That's
just
what I want.
identify it, that it's a portion,
Yeah.
the architectural and engineering fees.
fund that portion.
It satisfies Paul's concern that it doesn't look like it's the whole thing, and I don't think you need any more than that. I mean, there is no other reason you're doing a portion of it, that's all.
Right.
I mean, if some of you in the deliberative session, you can explain that it's to get the guaranteed maximum price, but I don't know how much you want to put on the ballot. It's up to you.
Let's hear what Nate has to say.
Hopefully it's a single sentence.
Yes, it is.
Nate is not known for his...
I will attempt not to bloviate on this one. This article, bloviate.
Okay.
It's a good word.
Listen,
Okay.
knock yourself out.
This article will fund a portion of the A&E fees for the South School project.
That's it. And it
There you
says
go.
in,
What can I tell you? Right, that's
That work
it.
for you, Paul?
Okay. There you go.
Tom?
Thank you.
Oh, lawyer.
Is it a surplus from bonds or something like that? 112? Why is it 112? Is it a surplus?
We have the 112,000, when we initially had the tax rate set, we had guidance from the state only to budget a certain amount on the revenue side for catastrophic aid. We found very recently that we were going to get more in the way of catastrophic aid. Because the revenue came after the budget was already set, we cannot spend that money this fiscal year. So it would show up as revenue for the '06-'07 school year. So what we're saying is, what we'd like to do is take this excess revenue, 112,000 out of the 147, and use that to fund the partial architectural and engineering costs for South School.
If you don't have surplus, whatever reason,
We have to.
We will have it, because it's a difference between the expenditure side and the revenue side. If we get in additional revenues above what we had at rate setting time, we are precluded from spending that money, because our appropriation is set. So if we get in additional revenues, we cannot spend it. So if our budget, our expenditure, total expenditure line is $53 million, and we had anticipated that we would be getting $50 million in revenue, and it turned out that we got $52 million, I cannot increase the expenditure side by that additional $2 million.
It goes on a form. It goes on a state form that says we're going to have $112,000 of extra revenue. Once they sign that form and send it to the state, that money can't be used for anything else, and it is,
I guess it's just my accounting mentality.
Right.
Why does it then have a tax impact if it's a surplus?
Because,
we're going to go there in a second.
yeah.
I don't think it should.
Oh, sure,
It has to.
has to.
I mean, if we had one transaction,
We have to give
and
it.
$100 came in, and I spent $80,
Okay,
and I had $20 left over, that doesn't seem to me to have a tax
From a
impact.
technical perspective, because the additional revenue came in, and we are obligated by state law to then carry that over as revenue for the next year, because that would then lower the tax rate, let's say by 4 cents, which is what we have here. Because now we're electing to take that excess revenue and redirect it to this warrant article, we have to show that it's a tax impact of 4 cents, because if we had not used this excess revenue, it would have reduced the tax rate by 4 cents.
Okay,
Right, but-
okay, go ahead.
Tom, what you're saying makes absolute sense,
No,
and what John is saying makes
No,
absolute sense.
my only, I understand that, but when you put in that it's coming from the year-end surplus,
Right.
and then you're saying it's going to cost me more in taxes, that seems to me to be two contradictory statements.
Well, on the town side, when they take money from, when they have this type of article, they don't need a tax impact, because they're not obligated to give the money back. They can accumulate, and they have a formula, X amount of surplus, okay? On the school side, it is required that any surplus at the end of the year, and simply, revenues minus expense nets a surplus. Whatever that surplus is, must go back as revenue to reduce next year's tax rate. So if we go in to the tax rate setting, and if our budget's $55 million, when we leave the tax rate setting, there's $55 million of revenue, okay? It comes state aid, local receipts, fund balance, and the difference is property taxes. So it nets out to $55 million. So what we're saying is, after that meeting, and the tax rate was set, and the school district was to receive $23 million, let's say, on local property taxes, when the bills were sent and everything was done, we got a call from the state that said the legislature went back, they're fully funding the catastrophic aid formula. I know we told you to only budget 90% of it, but they went back, they found money or whatever, they're fully funding it. So you're getting your full share that you should have gotten before, which in this case is $147,000 more. So if we were to spend the budget right to the penny, and by miraculously every revenue came in to the penny, at the end of the year, we would have $147,000 of surplus that would go as revenue from local receipts to next year's tax rate. So instead of raising $23 million next year in property taxes, it'd be $23 million minus $150,000. That would be the That would be the tax rate based on that revenue.
I guess my confusion is this. You say in one sentence, by law, we got to return people the money.
Right.
And then the effect of what the next sentence is A, we're not giving you the money, and B, then we're going to raise your taxes.
which is
Actually,
why
no,
we have
what
to
we're
ask them.
saying is, we're giving the voters an opportunity legally to spend that extra revenue on a particular warrant article. They have the opportunity to do that. If you, in fact, vote on that warrant article, you are increasing your taxes by 4 cents. It doesn't follow, the state law with the schools does not follow what you would consider to be logic. That's, I think, the problem.
Because of surplus that I'm not
right.
getting back.
That's the logic, unfortunately.
My only problem is the tax impact.
Well,
Right.
first thing, there's
Let
two
me
errors.
have John try,
right?
John's going to try and
One
clarify
error
this.
is that you're not saying you're not giving it back, you're asking the voters whether or not they want it back, okay? So the voters actually
Right.
making that choice. And the second thing is if it passes, you're not increasing your taxes. It has an impact of 4 cents, but taxes don't go up 4 cents.
Right.
Okay? So there's one thing wrong with what I see in front of me, and it's very minor. If I add up the tax rates for all the warrant articles, it comes to $12.32. I look on the sheet, and I got $12.32, except on the sheet it should say $12.28, because I've got an offsetting revenue against this 112. So, it's minor. Has to be, Peter. If each one of these adds up to 1232, okay, and on here it says 1232, I've got the revenue showing here to make that 4 cents zero. So, what I'm trying to do, I know you're probably trying to avoid confusion, but it really is confusion in the respect that if you pass this article, your tax rate is 4 cents lower than what you see on here.
I can't do it the way it's written, I can't do it.
Right, but you,
The way it's written, I can't do it.
No, you've got to show the 4 cents in the warrant article, I understand that, but the sheet you handed out, the tax rate is really 4 cents lower on here than what you're reflecting.
I can't do it. It's not. I know what you're saying, but I can't, the way it's written, I can't change.
No, this is right. I'm saying, okay, you can't change this. I go along with that.
Right.
But I'm just saying for clarification for everybody in the room, this shouldn't be 1232, this should be 1228.
On the general fund.
And
John,
bottom of
is
the
that what
general
you're talking-
fund tax rate.
Right.
After you do all the
Okay.
revenues and all the expenditures for the warrant articles, it should be 1228 and not 1232. There is no tax increase related to Article 3. There is a tax impact, but no tax increase. So, because it's got $112,000 worth of revenue. So, I'm actually trying to make you look good, so don't all look at me like I'm...
No, I understand exactly what you're saying.
No.
Actually agree with
John, right?
Absolutely right.
No?
It has to be.
I think the problem is, John, is that they're using the money in the revenue side to reduce the tax rate to start with, so therefore it has to be added in the bottom part of them on the expenditures.
Otherwise, it'd be the other way around.
They put it in the revenue spot and then already, so it's in the revenue, so they've counted it already, so you have to take the expenditure out on the bottom.
All right, ready? Take the Article 3 and throw it away. It's gone. Take the $112,000 out of the expenditures, take the $112,000 out of the revenues.
But I can't take it out of the revenues. I can't take the 112 out of the revenues.
I just said it didn't exist. I'm just telling you for the portion of it doesn't exist. If it didn't exist
We didn't
at all,
underspend North School.
Right.
We spent all the money.
what would the tax rate be? This 4 cents wouldn't be here. Tax rate would be 1228.
the Article 2 would then be 1178. We would increase that one by 4 cents.
Right.
Technically, you,
112 is reducing the general fund by 4 cents.
right.
Okay. All right.
So technically, you could shift
So
4
because
cents
it's
from one
in,
to the other.
it's not actually being applied to this article?
Right. We've recognized it as revenue in the general fund. So your operating budget should be 1178. We're adding the 112 as revenue. That's
Okay.
why it's 1174.
I was wrong. I stand corrected. I understand now, because it would be still as revenue. Okay.
It'd be as revenue if it
I
fails.
think the confusing thing is on the town side, it would be, if we were using...
Zero.
Zero.
Because we would say, right, it would be a tax impact of zero because we're using the reserve fund.
Right, and if you didn't vote for it, you wouldn't get the money back.
Correct.
It would still sit in the reserve. Gotcha.
Right, that's
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Trying to make you look good.
We wore one of the public out, and if the public, as you come forward, please speak directly into the microphone and state your name.
My name is Laura Alazam. It's a terrible cold. I'm just wondering what's going to happen to the other $35,000 of that extra revenue that's coming,
Goes-
unexpected revenue.
It goes to offset the tax rate.
Right.
Okay, any further public comment? Any other items from the board? Seeing no public comment, I accept the motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the Article 3 be moved to the warrant and recommend school board's approval.
I'll second.
We have a first and a second to move Article number 3 to the deliberative session, and a recommendation of the school board to be determined as soon as we vote. One further discussion?
Yeah, I just have a question. Do we now need to modify that, and do we have to hear Nate read the clarification that we're putting on the bottom of it? Or is that a separate
That's
motion?
separate.
That's a
It's a
legal
separate
question that I'm
motion?
going to ask Nate.
Separate.
It's a separate motion, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Could we hear it again anyway?
Yes. This article will fund a portion of the architectural and engineering services for the South School project.
Thank you.
And just a point of order, John, I'd like to thank you for bringing forward the piece. However, this is a public hearing, so something like that, John had given a recommendation of how to write it. And since it is a public hearing, I would just ask that anybody like to do that, to just come forward to the mic, and we'd appreciate it. Okay. All in favor of
Is that for
Article?
me?
Pardon?
You said I'd like to thank John for writing.
No, John, I'm sorry.
I thought
John Robinson.
In my old age, I thought I wrote something and brought it up and didn't remember it.
John Robinson, who I believe is here this evening as a citizen. Well, he's here as a reporter and a citizen. So he had given a written recommendation that he passed to Dan. I just wanted to make it clear to the audience that we'll be accepting only testimony that everybody can see. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That moves to the deliberative session, 5-0. Since the meeting will be the school moderators meeting, I can make a motion to this.
Yes?
I'll second that.
And Ron will second.
Can I recommend Mr. Beaver for the presentation?
Very good. Dan Beefer will do the presentation. Article number 4, the Londonderry. Okay. Before I read that, that is the title.
Yes.
We had talked earlier in the day, I thought that was going to change back.
Well, it's Londonderry Education Association, LEA, that's it.
All right, I'll read that then. I'll read Article number 4. The Londonderry Education Association, LEA, bargaining agreement. Shall the voters of the Londonderry School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Londonderry School District and the Londonderry Education Association, LEA, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $1,113,605 for the 2006-2007 fiscal year, such sum representing the additional cost items attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those paid at current staffing levels in the prior fiscal year.
Right here, the bottom of the first page.
The agreement calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits. Fiscal year 2006 through 7, estimated cost $1,113,605, with a tax impact of 38 cents. Fiscal year 2007 through 2008, an estimated cost of $96,465, with a tax impact of 37 cents. Fiscal year 2008 through 2009, with an estimated cost of $1,152,970,000, with a taxed impact of 39 cents. I think it would be appropriate for discussion from those on the committee.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to move it to the warrant.
Before I accept a second, any public comment during this public hearing on Article number 4? Please.
Sorry, I only found out about this meeting today. Laura Elazam. So I didn't have time to do a lot of research on the topic, so excuse me if this is kind of an ignorant question, but what happens if this, the question seems to be about the 2006-2007 cost. And then there's 2 additional years worth of cost noted, but we're actually not voting on those additional years?
Yes, you are, in an indirect way. You're not, what happens is it's called standardizing the agreements. What we need to do as a school board and a district is provide the voters with the information of what we believe the most accurate cost is for the next 3 years of the contract. We base that on the teacher population that are existing in the schools as of October 1st. So the voters know exactly what it is. If the voters approve this, it becomes a legal contract. This number here will be in the next year's budget. It'll be in the operating budget. The $1,096,000 or whatever that number is will be in the operating budget. When we do our default budget, it will be also included in the default budget because the voters have been aware of the contract. It's been approved by the contract for a 3-year contract. So that will be part of our default budget in the next year and the year after that.
So what happens to this? What happens to this if this warrant article is voted down?
Okay, before we answer that question, very good, but I'd like someone to define Sanbornizing.
Sanbornizing is a procedure where the voters or the school district tells the voters of the town exactly what the cost is of a project, including all the financial costs for the years of the project. Prior to the Sanbornizing of an agreement, we would come in here and give you the first year of the contract and not talk about the second and third year. So you'd be buying a pig in a poke.
And that came from the term.
Sanborn School District.
Yes, sir.
Sanborn School District.
Yes.
There was a suit then, since then, that's.
So now we know what to expect.
Right.
So now we know what to expect.
For the 3 years.
Exactly.
You're voting for a 3-year contract. Now, if it fails,
And Ron's addressing your question.
right, if it fails, what happens is the teachers would not get a raise this year. They would not get this raise. It would fail. We would go back to negotiations. Their salaries would remain constant of this year's salaries except for increases because of education. And that's been included in the budget already. So this is here. If you go to the next article, which we'll talk about, we're asking the voters that if you reject the first article, then we would like to come back or have your permission to come back for another vote if we come up with a different agreement.
Does this? May I ask one more question?
Oh, as much as you like.
This 1,113,605 figure, does that represent an average raise for each teacher? Is it? I mean, I know it's a complicated process to come up with this number, and it probably includes benefits and that are, hard to break down. Or I'm sure somebody did. But is there a general idea of about what the raise will be for the average teacher in Londonderry, given this number?
4.7%, but it's not an average raise across the board.
Right.
Because of the teachers that are on the top of the scale, teachers that are moving through the scale, and the steps that they go through. So it breaks down into several different numbers, but it averages out for the whole union to 4.7%.
And do you happen to know what the current cost of living increase would be?
It's hovering just over 3. I didn't get December yet, but it's like 3.3, 3.2.
There's a number of items that do not show up in the warrant article, which
Yes.
do involve the contract. Would you just, one of the negotiators, just briefly go over those?
Basically, as you look at this, one of the things that happens as we look at that, it's the contract has the dollar amounts increase of 4.7%. However, a couple of the things that came out of this contract that we believe that'll save the district money over the long term is that we've changed the sick day policy. Previously, each teacher would get 15 sick days a year. We've changed that policy now that after 6 years, teachers would only get 10 sick days. So we've reduced the number of sick days there. We've also here, there's a decrease because there's a perfect attendance bonus that was given if the teachers were in for the year. We've changed that and we put a per diem rate in there as opposed to their per diem rate as a teacher, and that'll save us about $6,000. The benefits, there was a dental benefit increase from $1,000 to $2,000 maximum. That'll cost the district $18,000. And one of the things that we added also was long-term disability after 180 days. That was a $51,000 cost, $51,582. We believe teachers have a sick bank, which they donate to. So we've had experience in the past where a teacher would be out a year and then go into a second year because of a long-term illness, and the district would be paying them. So we believe that this here is a cost-effective way of handling that situation.
Thank you. And thank you for all the work you did to keep the...
No, thank you. And by the way, these details are in this document entitled Budget Hearing, January 12th, 2006, on page 16 for the teacher's contract. If anyone would like this document that happens to be at home that couldn't make it in, I'm not sure if one's been couriered to you, Reed, but you can pick these up at the school district office here on Mammoth Road. And we do appreciate the public participation in the meeting very much, too. We have a motion on Article number 4, and we're waiting for second, seeing no further discussion from the public.
Second?
And Paul stand for motion, and Paul second. And Peter, you're the superintendent's representative at this point,
We're all set.
since he left the room.
All right.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0. We move Article number 4 to the deliberative session. For those confused by what I just said, we cannot legally meet as a board without the superintendent and or his representative, so. Article number, I'm sorry, a motion, I certainly think
recommend Ron and
this should be the team that does this. By the way, they've placed hundreds of hours, and the teachers and their team placed hundreds of hours of work in on this, and we appreciate it very much. So which one of you would like to motion?
I would suggest Ron, and if Ron's voice drops, I'll do it, but I've never known Ron's voice to...
So Ron will motion this Article number 4, and
He'll present it.
Oh, I'm sorry, and
Is that fine?
but I need a motion in a second. The person that
I'll
will
make the
motion in second.
And then
Dan
I'll
will
second.
it.
Okay, Dan will second, and Ron will present.
That's correct.
Thank you. Article number 5, authorization for a special meeting on cost items. Shall the voters of the Londonderry School District, if Article 4 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address Article number 4 cost items only. This has an estimated tax impact of $0. And as Ron had indicated in some conversations during Article number 4, this allows the school district to legally hold a meeting without going to the courts to ask them permission to hold a meeting as long as the voters were to approve this. If we did not have this Article number 5 on here, and the Article number 4 were to fail, the teachers would be without a contract, and we would not be able to go to the voters until the following year, unless we approach the court and ask them for permission, and we're given it. Any discussion on the board? I'm so used to conversation because we were in the workshops for so long. Any questions from the public? Seeing no questions from the public on Article number 5, I'll take a motion.
So move.
Second.
So motion by Ron and second by Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
On that one, Ed, you want me
sorry.
to present
Thank you.
it, Dan to second it? And
Let's, Dan motion, Ron second, Dan present, or
Okay.
however you guys want to work it. Want to change that, or are you
That'll be
okay?
fine.
Article number 6. Sorry?
Can I ask you,
Question on Article number 6 before we read it. Nate, if I vote tonight, obviously I want to abstain on this one, but is that how it would be on the ballot?
401,
Okay, have we already voted that way?
yes.
So my vote tonight will just be to move it to the warrant, I mean, to the deliberative session.
No, you should not vote.
Okay, I'll
The way,
abstain.
the way,
Okay.
the way it would show up, Dan, would be 401.
Yeah, I thought we did that the other evening, I didn't
Yep.
know.
Yes, sir.
So I'll just abstain from this one. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, we left the recommended by school board as X's only because we didn't have that.
Okay.
And before we go into the official reading, if just one more time you would indicate the reason for your abstention.
I certainly support it, but I abstain publicly, and my wife's a member of this bargaining unit, so I abstain to make sure there's no exception of whatever. And I was not on the bargaining negotiation team.
Right. And as I understand, the policies have changed, although Dan would be grandfathered into it in regards to employment in the council, or employment on the school board.
No. Dan's wife had worked here previous to his election.
Okay.
So therefore, anyone that has a spouse that is working here is allowed to run for office. It's public knowledge that the person has a spouse working in the district.
There's many preceded me but I've disclosed that at any election as well. So, but I believe that policy is still in effect.
Yes, sir.
It's a school board adopted policy.
Yes, sir.
So none of the board members could have an immediate family that would be an employee when they're a board member?
If they have no family member employed in the district and they're elected to the board, they can have an individual employed, I believe, as a custodian or an aide, but not as a member of the professional staff, meaning administrator, super teacher, or superintendent. Boy, that would be a lousy situation, wouldn't it?
Kathy leave?
She's in a demolition committee meeting, so. Thank you for entertaining me on that. I appreciate it, gentlemen. Article number 6, Londonderry Association of Allied Health Professionals, LAAHP, bargaining agreement. Shall the voters of the Londonderry School District vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Londonderry School District and the Londonderry Association of Allied Health Professionals, LAAHP, and further to raise and appropriate the sum of $66,957,000 for the 2006 and 2007 fiscal year. Such sum representing the additional cost items attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those paid at current staffing levels in the prior fiscal year. Fiscal year 2006 through 2007, $66,957 with a tax impact of 2 cents. Fiscal year 2007 through 2008, estimated cost of $62,240, tax impact of 2 cents. And fiscal year 2008 through 2009, estimated cost $61,994 with a tax impact of 2 cents. Any discussion on the board? Any public comment? Public comment for Article number 5, the Londonderry Association of Allied Health Professionals. I'm sorry, Article number 6. get back to my reading length. I've got a pair. I'm trying not to. Article number 6 for the Londonderry Association of Allied Health Professionals, public comment. Seeing none, I'll take a motion from the board.
Chair, I move that we move this to the warrant and recommended by the school board.
A motion by Ron and a second by George. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain?
Aye.
Okay, so that passes 4-0-1. I wouldn't mind motioning this if
Yep, that
people
would make
wouldn't mind.
sense. I'll second it.
And I'll provide the presentation.
Makes sense.
Ron and I were on the negotiating team for this particular bargaining agreement, which does closely track the school, the Teachers Association, rather. Article number 7, authorization for a special meeting on cost items. Shall the voters of the Londonderry School District, if Article 6 is defeated, authorize the governing body to call one special meeting at its option to address the Article 6 cost items only. This has no tax impact and is exactly the same as Article number 5 as described earlier. Questions, comments from the board? Public comment. Public comment on Article number 7, the authorization for a special meeting should the LAAHP not pass. Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by George and a second by Ron. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 5-0 and moves to the,
I have to abstain on this one as well. Is that right, Nate?
Yes.
okay, so I have a 4, 0, and 1 abstention. Article number 8.
Need to move that one? Who's going to motion that one?
Who's presenting?
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what, I'll just,
Same, Steve and Ron?
no, that's one, if somebody else would like to do it. Okay, then it'll be Ron and Steve. And the presentation, since I'll be seconding it, the
I'll be
presentation will be,
very short.
yeah.
Mercifully.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who's doing the presentation?
Ron,
I will do the presentation.
Ron? So, Ron, you can say what Dan said in Article 5, right?
Right, that's exactly what I'm going to say.
Okay.
Whatever Dan said in Article 5 counts.
Oh, geez, pressure.
the Article number 8, Special Article Expendable Maintenance Trust Fund. Shall the voters of the Londonderry School District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $400,000 to be placed in the school district's capital reserve expendable maintenance trust fund to be used for school building maintenance? This has an estimated tax impact of 14 cents. Note, the intended use for these funds is for major one-time capital costs for district facilities, including roofs, paving, and small renovation projects. Any questions, discussion from the board? For those that haven't been involved in the conversation before, this is a trust fund which also allows us to carry over the funds between fiscal years. And the school district is not legally allowed to do that in its operating budget. Any comments from the public? And if you'd identify yourself for the record, and thank you for coming.
Brian Farmer, 106 Chase Road. I just have a question to clarify in my mind if this operates the same way it does on the town side. Once you have this in a trust fund, the voters have authorized you to put the money in, but do you have to take a vote to expend from that trust fund? And are there public hearings to expend monies from that trust fund?
What it is the board is the agent of the funds. What Chuck and I will do is part of the agenda item of a regular board meeting, there'll be an agenda item to request X funds to be transferred from the trust fund to pay for the XYZ projects.
So it does operate similar in fashion to the way it does on the town side.
But you did indicate a public hearing, and it's simply by a vote of the board.
Right.
But it's done on your agenda at a public hearing?
Yes.
Correct,
Okay,
in public.
thank you.
Yes. Any further comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from George and a second from Ron. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That's a 5-0 vote. Article number 8 moves to the deliberative session and is supported 5-0. Article number 9. Oh, sorry, guys.
I'll move it.
George will move the expended maintenance trust fund.
I'll second it.
Paul will second. Who would like to present it?
I can do that.
George will present it. Our freshman member. Excellent.
Earn the big bucks.
I'm pleased you understand the expendable maintenance trust fund. That's good.
Oh, I got to understand it too? You didn't say anything about that.
Never mind, I had something to say.
We'll continue with this public hearing. Article number 9, the school, I'm sorry.
We got to break those two up over there.
Yeah.
I said that right from the beginning. I didn't like him over here.
Article number 9, school and lunch federal projects. Shall the voters of the Londonderry School District vote to raise and appropriate special revenue funds for the support of school lunch program and federal projects as follows? School lunch program, $1,371,475,000. Federal projects, $1,349,000. Such funds to be self-supporting through local, state, or federal revenue sources. The estimated tax impact of this article is 0. Discussion on the board. I believe it would be appropriate, since this is a public hearing, to once again briefly explain Article 8, because Article 9, because there are dollar figures associated with it, yet there is no tax impact.
Right. This article allows us to accept federal funds. The funds that are included in this are our IDEA funds, which is our special education money that we get from the federal government, even though they short us on average $1 million a year. But I don't want to talk about that. It also allows us to get funds for the school lunch program. It also qualifies us for the federal discount on commodities. It also allows us to accept Title II funds, Title III, Title IV, and Title IV-A funds, programs that we use for staff development, technology, and innovative programs. Not bad, huh? There we go. No cost to, it's no cost to the taxpayers, and it allows us to do things we would not ordinarily be able to do. And the IDEA funds in particular show up as a revenue and allow us to provide services to the district without additional cost.
Further discussion on the board, Ron?
The bottom line on this article, if it was to fail, we would not be able to accept any federal, state, or local funds. So, I mean, it's there, but it's significant.
Comments from Budget Committee, John?
The $1,371,475 for school lunch money, That is not all federal money, correct? That is the money that flows in and out of the lunch program from.
Yes.
So when people think they're voting for a free lunch, they're not. That lunch money, the majority of it comes from the students paying their lunch bill.
Correct.
Every day.
Yes.
Okay? So it's just a self-supporting fund. And,
Right.
you know, after all these years, it just dawned on me, maybe it would help, but you think next year we can come up with a better word than projects? Because in reality, it kind of sounds like we're building the Hoover Dam. I mean, it's not a project. It's, you know, whether maybe we identify it as a title money that's used for education of children as opposed to federal projects, because it does sound like we're
That's no-
actually constructing something with the money.
That's no problem.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a legacy thing with the Title I, Title II, and so forth.
Yeah, I just, after all these years, maybe that's the reason to get so many no votes. I don't know.
And for those in the public that may enjoy viewing the commodities, join us for the school tours, which occur in August of every year. And we get to go through the kitchen up at the high school in the loading dock. Any further questions from the public? Please come forward and state your name. Is it extremely short? Because I'm going to have to repeat everything you say. Sorry.
Can we open the door so I can run fast after I ask my question?
I'll hold this one, Cindy.
Thank you. Mr. Greenberg,
And please introduce yourself. Sorry.
Cindy Rice Conley.
That's the public
The
hearing.
school lunch money, does the food for the high school administration come out of this federal fund?
Evidently, Mr. Elefante has had some, yes.
Is it reimbursed through his salary? The amount of money that he spends on food through the funds we get?
That's why we're showing a surplus, Cindy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does that mean Jim's buying lunch tomorrow?
For those people, those people in town who have not lived through the cupcake period have no clue what we're just talking about. Anyone knows where we are. I don't see no further public comment. Seeing,
Make a motion, we move Article 9 to the warrant and recommend it.
Second.
we have a motion by Ron and a second by George for Article number 9. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. And it is,
Presentation.
Move it.
thanks, sorry. It is moved to the deliberative session. That will be motioned by,
Paul volunteered.
and Paul will be motioning that. And
Could it jump right out there, Paul?
is there anyone who hasn't seconded much? Everybody get your name in the book, even though our names are in the book anyways.
I'll second it.
And, did you say you wanted to present that?
I think Nate said he wanted to present it.
Nate wants to present?
I'll do it, it's fine with me.
Superintendent Greenberg will present that.
Or Jim could.
Article number 10.
There you go.
The comment from the audience was only if I could co-present from Cindy. Please come to the microphone if you'd like to comment during this public hearing. Article number 10, by petition, a special article, to see if the school district will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $240,000 for the purpose of field maintenance and improvements. The maintenance program supports the upkeep and safety of existing athletic fields located at the high school, middle school, Matthew Thornton, North, South, and Moose Hill schools for all student athletics and recreational teams. The estimated tax impact of this item is 8 cents. And since this is a citizen's petition, I'd like to ask the citizen that presented this with the 25 signatures come forward to give a brief description. And
Bob Lincoln, Chairman of the Athletic Facilities Committee. This is our yearly article that we submit to the school district for the maintenance and improvement of the athletic facilities in the school district. This year, the money's going to be used for to complete the middle school multi-purpose fields, complete the high school PE field that we started last year. We're going to build dugouts at the high school JV baseball field and the varsity girls softball field. We're going to renovate the high school cross-country trails, which were destroyed here a couple of years ago. Last year, we weren't able to have any home cross-country meets because of the condition of these trails. We're going to improve the girls' varsity game field over at Matthew Thornton, which is where they play field hockey and lacrosse. And we're going to be doing some ongoing yearly improvements to the irrigation system and the drainage systems in the school district.
Any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none on the Budget Committee, I'd ask the public to come forward for any questions or comments on Article number 10. Public hearing on Article number 10. Anyone in the public? Seeing none, I would take a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Ron and second by Dan. And a close second, George. So seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that passes 5-0. And Bob would be motioning this, I'm sorry, excuse me, oh my gosh. Bob will be presenting this. Who would like to motion it?
I'll make the motion. Go ahead.
Mr. Athletic. Okay, Dan will motion this. And,
I'll second it.
Article number 11, by petition, special article, shall the voters of the Londonderry School District vote to approve the planning in cooperation with the town of Londonderry for an auditorium to be built as part of the Londonderry school system, and to ask that the governing body prioritize this project as part of the capital improvement program. This auditorium is necessary to provide a suitable environment for school and community music and drama programs, as well as space for other school and community activities. This article was by citizens petition, so I ask the petitioner to come forward. Thank you for doing so. Excellent.
Yes, I'm, mindful of the comments and questions and dialogue.
I'm sorry, just name again.
Brian Farmer, 106 Chase Road, Chairman of the Cultural Resources Committee, presenting, or the petitioning body, I guess, if you would call it that. I'm mindful of the comments that were made and questions and some of the concerns that were expressed, and particularly one that I think was expressed by Mr. Campo about how sometimes these advisory articles come back to bite you and be used as a hammer, and we know that has happened in the past in the town. So what I want to do is tonight offer a clarification of intent for your minutes here at the public hearing as to exactly what we mean when we say build an auditorium at the schools. All of our study up to this point in time has indicated that what's necessary for size of an auditorium is a 1,000-seat facility. This was done in our design charrette 3.5 years ago, and I think that when we look at the school population has basically flattened out over a number of years, last few years. We haven't seen any need to significantly change that. When we benchmarked it at 1,000 seats, we were looking ahead to the future for future ability to house events within the school district, within the school system, and we think that this is probably the right-sized facility. In looking at our cost modeling and the projects we've studied that were constructed similar in nature and similar in size, our cost model tells us that the fiscal year 2007 cost that we could project today, it's an art, it's not a science, so it's not It's not roped in and very specific, but it's $9.8 million. So as we move forward in basically campaigning for this article, these are the figures that we're going to be socializing in the public. So in the future, when, assuming that this advisory article gets wide support within the community, and as we establish what kind of dialogues we're going to take place, this is going to be the benchmark from which we're going to begin. And then the minutes to any of those other discussions will show how we affected this number, either upward or downward. And of course, the longer we wait, the more expensive it gets to build the same number of seat facility. For instance, this cost is based on a facility that was built in November of 2002 at $8.8 million. So 5 years later, fiscal year cost is nearly $1 million more. So I just wanted to put those points. Those points are now part of your public hearing on this, and that's what's going to be the basis of discussions as we socialize this throughout the community in an effort to build support for passing this advisory article. If you have any other questions, I'm willing to answer them. You, Budget Committee, or the public.
Questions from the board? Ask John.
This is as a citizen, not as a Budget Committee member. Is there a way you can put a note on here that says it's for advisory only on non-binding?
Do you know that that was on the original petition, but it's not on this piece of paper?
So can we make that a note?
Yep.
Just so, one of the things we didn't do with
Does
those
someone-
other petitions is we didn't identify them as non-binding, and
Right. As a matter of fact, we cannot change this article at all since it is a citizen's petition. As I remember reading the actual hard copy with the signatures, there was a bracketed comment at the bottom that relates to what John is saying. Does someone have that with them in their package?
Brian, do you have your original with you?
I have the original copies. I have copies of the original. The originals are with you. The
After the word, or copies are fine. After the word activities, is there?
There's no other language. The other night when we did discuss this, there was, and I believe it was in the language we received from the attorney and in the email from, yep, it's actually on the bottom of, it's on the bottom of what you were looking at as a possible additional article. It's on the bottom of it, it said this is a non-binding advisory article only. That was a note at the bottom of the additional article you provided.
So it wasn't his, it was ours.
And the board is allowed by statute, or excuse me, by our charter, to put a clarification note on the bottom.
Yeah, I believe so. And if Brian, and I don't think Brian would not be in concurrence with that.
I would be fine with that particular language being on the bottom of this, because I think that we want to be clear to everyone that this is an advisory only, that this does not mean that this has to take place. It's only an indication of public support that the public would like for it to take place.
Okay.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you for that. If you'd stay there, Brian, as we may have questions from the public on this issue.
Laura Alazam, 22 Summer Drive. I just wanted to know two things. If you could just explain a little more what you mean by planning, who will be involved, and what sort of steps require the town's authorization? And also, I'll get out of the way, is this something that you're thinking about building on land that's already owned by Londonderry and the school district, or does the $9.8 million cost you mentioned include purchasing land that this would go on?
Okay, I'll answer that. The the planning that would take place initially would be dialogue between those that might be appointed to a committee following this vote, preferably with cooperation from the committee who's been studying it for the last 5 years, the project, and keeping it moving forward in some slow fashion. That we did discuss at this body the other night that would probably be an expansion of that committee or a reappointment of members to a different committee. And the planning would be discussing further study, it would work towards identifying the particular site that this should be built on, and then that would be brought back to both the school board, school district, and then with possibly even council recommendations, since the town side is involved in this to some degree. The goal would be to designate a site on current school property so that no additional land purchases would be required. If somewhere down the road the decision was made that additional land needed to be purchased, that would come under some separate initiative, separate bonding to buy the additional land. It's to maintain the progress on the project. I don't know if that answers your question.
Further comments from the public on Article number 11? This public hearing. Seeing none before the board motions, I'd like the other items, we motion to move to the deliberative session, and then simultaneously, in most cases, motion to recommend the items. I'd like you to carefully word your motion on this so we can have a conversation on recommendation.
Okay, let's do the first one. I make a motion that we move this to deliberative session.
Second.
But first, by Ron to move this to deliberative session, second by George. No further discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 5-0.
Chairman, I make a motion that the school board...
Yeah, you know what, I won't accept the motion. Yes, I will, because I don't need public comment. Thanks.
Okay. Make a motion that we recommend, the school board recommend this article.
Second.
We have a motion to recommend this article, and a second, and discussion. I would like to discuss that. This particular article, do you have the day that this came in officially? Do you know what that, Brian?
Wasn't it the 10th, Brian?
What was Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Friday was not the 10th, it was the 6th.
Excuse me.
It came in last Friday to the district office.
And we reviewed it for the first time publicly on the 10th.
Yes.
I think that may
Yes.
be what Nate was referring to. The reason I wanted to have this conversation is the amount of detail which we've been able to be presented in that period of time. I personally have a concern that if we were to recommend or to not recommend this particular item, that since it's a referendum vote on whether the community would like to have a facility like this or not, I'm afraid that it would potentially, excuse my term, but pollute the process. I'm inclined at this point to not support it simply because the amount of information that is there, that we've had the time to present. It's been a very, very short period of time and a very small amount of information relative to the costs that we just heard. Any further discussion? Paul?
Brian, can I ask you to define what you mean in the wording when it says to ask the governing body to prioritize this project as part of the capital improvement program?
Certainly, and I can add that into the record, and that's the purpose, I'm sure, maybe of your question. The prioritization of projects within the capital improvements plan is largely up to an evaluation of a project as presented through several documents to the CIP process. There's a ranking of projects and scoring of projects and their worth and value to the community. There's also a recommendation by prioritization of the timing of which these would be built. Currently in the CIP, this project is listed as a priority 4, which means technically it's in the document, but it is not part of our capital improvements program in Londonderry. So as it stays as a category 4, priority 4, it doesn't get value assigned to it. It doesn't get a year benchmarked into it. And that should be the subject of more discussion going forward as to when this should actually occur. Now, certainly, and you can note this from my other public comments and my other life on the council, that I firmly believe that in that prioritization process, I firmly believe in that timing of how we build projects. This project should never be considered by anyone in the town of Londonderry, and is certainly not considered by anyone on the Cultural Resources Committee to be a need, and that we must always prioritize, and it would be expected that we would prioritize our needs first before our wants. This is clearly a want. So when I say to prioritize it, what I'm asking the voters to do is provide an advisory opinion on whether, and I say in cooperation, it's also mentions in cooperation with the town. I'm asking the voters to provide an advisory opinion as to whether or not the school board member who sits on the capital improvements committee, the counselor who sits on the capital improvements committee, to support this project as it moves forward. Outside of that, there's no other intent other than to say that this moves forward in some fashion and is kept supported based on what we know the public has asked us to do.
Okay, so I take from that that's, should, for example, this receive a majority favorable vote from the public, that doesn't necessarily mean in your mind that the public is looking for this, the prioritization of this necessarily be any different than what it is currently for this year. It sounds like this is saying, let's make sure this is in our plans and we're working towards it for some time in the future, but it isn't necessarily to be interpreted as you should work to bring it to a higher priority or earlier in the SIP program than it is currently.
Well, what I would say to that, Paul, is that last year it was in the capital improvements program, and actually through interesting turns and twists, we had advocated putting it in the capital improvements program last year. The CIP committee elected not to. In discussions, the way this works is that the planning board does have another opportunity by the fact that they own the capital improvements plan. We had been heavily lobbied by a number of people in town on actually various boards, planning board members, not to approach this through the planning board, and we went along with those requests and did not ask the planning board to act. The act that took place that put it in last year's planning board was actually a motion from the floor by Mr. Campo that we consider it at the planning board, at which point the planning board did act to put it in the CIP, and I believe it was for the year of 2008. This year's CIP process began a whole new way of doing the CIP, categorizing projects, scoring them out, and gave us better evaluation tools to determine when. And as a result of that, everything that had been in last year's CIP document was zeroed out. Everything became new. It did not live where it might have lived the year before. It moved where the scoring system said it should move to. That would be the same process that would be followed in the future. I would say that if year after year this remains a priority 4, meaning essentially that it's out of the plan, that I would take a different approach. The current categorization of it as a priority 4, and I believe the minutes of the planning board meeting would show that the intent of their vote this year was that it begin to move into the plan next year. And that is actually part of the process of how we do capital planning now. We want to be able to see long range what's coming down the pike, what's being thought of in the community, and be able to have a document that socializes that within the community, and then see them actually move on to the plan in the out year, the 6th year of the plan, and then begin to work their way to the point where the community and the various bodies in town all say that this is the year it goes on the ballot. For instance, this year, you have a fire station. It's in the capital improvements plan to be done this year, so it's going on to the ballot this year. Other things, like you just talked in your earlier discussion, South School, I believe you said, was for '09. So South School is not currently scheduled to appear on a ballot in town until '09. This allows all the bodies and governing bodies in town to look further ahead, the voters to look further ahead. When they make a decision, they can say, gee, I'm doing this year. 2 years from now, I'm going to be asked to do this. 5 years from now, I'm going to be asked to do that. Kind of a long answer and maybe a little bit educational on how the CIP process works, but.
Brian, I need a clarification. You made a statement that Ron made a motion on the floor in a certain year. Could you just indicate which floor? In which year?
It was the planning board public hearing on whether to adopt the capital improvements plan and forward it on to the governing bodies in town. And that was, that would have been, I'd like to say late September of 2004, as opposed to this year.
Right, what occurred is we had it was in the plan, and I believe it was in the plan for $6 million. And what we said at that point in time, that the real price was...
The real price was, yeah.
And what we wanted to do in the motion was, let's put the real price in the CIP so the public has an understanding where it is. It was set in for 2008, but just so the public would have the correct information in there. When we had information that they didn't have, we didn't think it was reasonable.
You're correct. It was in there for a much lower value than all the study had shown it should be. So,
right.
You're correct. And Steve, I'd like to comment on something you said about, if I can, on not recommending or voting against. I've probably shared this observation with members of the board. I've shared it with members of the council. When citizens petition articles come to the council or the school board, it's a very careful line that I think that you have to walk on voting to recommend something, simply because your vote carries a lot of weight in the community. If you vote to recommend something, you are in effect swaying the process. If you vote against something, you are in effect swaying the process. I think going forward, personally, I wrestle with that in issues that come before the council, and looking at citizens' petitions before the council, I somewhat believe that the respective boards should not vote to recommend for or against the citizen's petition and allow that to stand on its own merit as coming from a citizen. And, you know, I'm certainly willing, whatever you decide, whatever your board decides, but I think that has some merit for further discussion as we look at this kind of stuff.
I've got, after I have something to say, then Ron and then George. The statement I made was pretty frank, and I believe that the community understands my commitment, in particularly to the music program. And there certainly, I'm sure, are larger supporters than I of the music program. But I have been extremely supportive of them and will continue to. And it's not a judgment at all on the music program or even the need of the auditorium. My concern was the amount of information, the amount of time we had to process that information. Ron?
I guess, as I look at this, and I agree with Brian, is that our vote will have a bearing on it, good or bad. And on issues that come up, and there's a difference between this article and the previous one, by law, we're required to take a stand on the other one because it's $240,000, and there's a dollar amount on it. I would think that we would send this without any, I would recommend that we send this without any board input on it, because if a 3-2 board, I'm not so sure if we're swaying votes or not. They're asking a question, is how does the Londonderry people feel on an auditorium? Let's get the answer out there. They'll explain the prices that they're going to put on the project and see if the people buy into it. So I'm not so sure that we should even, take a vote on it.
George?
Actually, Ron alluded to where I was going, was the previous article. If we were not to recommend or to choose not to do anything, one way or the other with Article 11, do we need to be absolute in that
No, by law.
position?
On Article 10, it's a financial situation. We're required by law to have a position.
Even though it's a citizen's petition?
That is correct.
Okay, well. And again, then I would, it's a citizen's petition. I would defer, frankly, I'd defer to Brian, and if he asks us that we either, take a vote, then I would say we take a vote. If he chooses not to, then I'm fine with that as well, because I do wrestle with it.
Except that I do have a motion on the floor and a second. Paul wanted to speak?
And I'm in favor of Brian's request as well, that we let this go to a public vote without making a position on ourselves.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure that you actually have a motion or a second. I think we may have stopped Ron from making the motion.
No, we have a motion, a second. Can the secretary just read that back?
Okay.
Mary, thank you.
Mr. Campo moved to recommend the article, and it was seconded by Mr. Cummings.
John's got a comment too.
John?
I'm going to speak as the chair of the CIP committee this year. And, you're asking, this article asks the voters to support you changing the process, because this is not the process that's in the CIP committee's charge. And I believe, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but either you support changing the process or you don't support changing the process. The process is set forth by the CIP committee. It's there. It's not going to change unless somebody changes it. Now, if you support changing it, then I think you should support this article. If you don't support changing the process, then you shouldn't support this article, because that's really what it asks. It asks to work with the town and the school district and ask the governing body, which is the capital improvements plan and planning board, to give it a priority outside of the CIP committee's venue. Because Brian's right. I mean, the biggest qualification in the CIP is the difference between a need and a want. Okay? Unfortunately, this will never become a need. It will always be a want. So the only way it can actually ever get in is when all of the needs are done, and that's the whole idea behind what we've been discussing for months, is that as long as this is just a want, all of the needs are going to come first. The fire stations, the schools, and when the CIP puts together a plan, it's going to look at the needs. You need South School renovated, you need 2 new fire stations, and the wants. And the needs are always going to be put in the plan, and the wants are going to be placed outside of it. So you're asking for the process to be changed. So either you support the process being changed, which would then send a message to the community and also send a message that I may not be on the CIP committee next year. So whoever's there from the budget committee obviously is going to need some direction. And I guess that's why I'm asking that you either tell the CIP committee that you support this process or not.
John, to your point, the wording, though, does include, and I won't read through it all again, but it does say planning in cooperation with the town of Londonderry for an auditorium to be built as part of the Londonderry school system, and to ask that the governing body prioritize this project as part of the capital improvement plan.
Right, and it was prioritized. It just happened to end up as a priority 4. It wasn't not prioritized. It was prioritized. It was prioritized as a category 4. I mean, so I mean, if you're
But
looking for it to be a 3 or a 2 or a 1, that's changing the priority of the CIP committee.
But it does indicate, shall the voters of the Londonderry School District vote to approve the planning in cooperation with the town of Londonderry for an auditorium to be built as part of the Londonderry school system. And then that portion goes on to talk about what you just referred to.
Can I get a clarification from Brian on this, because I read it differently. I understand how you're reading it. I took that as, instead of being a citizen's petition on the bottom of the CIP, that it be added into the school district CIP plan, is how I took the governing body, not changing the process. Was your intention to change the process? I got it. That's really...
There's no intention to change the process based on the wording of this article or whether or not you, as the school board, vote in support of it or not. The thought behind this is that based on this advisory, if this is supported by 80% of the voters, that to me serves as a strong indication to the governing bodies of the town that they want this in the CIP process. It does not necessarily mean that it's going to come in as a 3 or 2 or 1, or it does not necessarily mean that, but it does answer the substantial questions that took place during the process this year and at the planning board when the planning board moved to adopt the CIP process. And that is, and frankly, John, to your comment, this is an orphan project. It legitimately belongs on the school side, but it's being worked by a town side committee. It's a hybrid, unlike any other project we will see coming before us. For South School improvements, clearly belong on the school side of the equation. Fire stations clearly belong on the town side of the equation. This advisory asks the community to tell us where they think it belongs. And then we can move forward from then on in cooperation, it says. And we can have all these other dialogues later. Now, I will tell you that, and I'll tip my hand in advance because maybe that's what your question is asking somewhat. The categories and the way projects are scored, there's a dozen different things that they look at.
Right.
In my opinion, one of the things that should be added in regard to anything, and if this fails, I'm going to act as best I can sitting on the council to affect the CIP process so that projects coming forward that show broad community support, that there's a score sheet in the process that you get points for that does not include that category on the scorecard. It does not, there's nothing in there that has a measure of community support. All right, so in my opinion, going forward, whether this fails miserably or not, that's a legitimate change to the CIP process, which as much as the capital improvements, the capital planning committee works the process, the planning board owns it. That's state law that our charter does not supersede. The charge to the capital planning committee does not supersede.
Right. I know
So that would be the activity that would take place. Consequently, the risk is it approves by a wide margin, and we do look at changing how it's scored. Now, how it's scored doesn't affect how it's prioritized.
Right.
At all.
The scoring means nothing when it comes to the priority.
It just shows you a value judgment of how it's scored against a set of criteria. The adverse is that if it fails miserably, my committee's intent is that we're done with the project until somebody else stands up and wants to take it on, because we're finished. And I would say that 60% is what you need to pass a bond. If we're at the 60% mark, like I said the other night, we intend to keep working. If we're at 50-ish, we intend to keep working. But if we fall well short of that, down into the 30, 20 range, that's a strong indication that the community is not interested in an auditorium at the school. I would be shocked by that, but if it happens, we have nothing else to work on with this. Why? What could we offer that would be more convincing?
To your point, Ron, I think that Brian's petition actually reinforces utilizing the system, because it does indicate in it it's looking for to prioritize in that system. And that it be on the school district side.
It would no longer be an orphan.
Correct.
If you followed, as this is an advisory, if you followed the advice based on the vote, you would be putting it on the school system, which is frankly one of the reasons it dropped out this year. I actually made the motion myself based on input from the school board that that you felt it was a technical violation that it showed up on the school side of the CIP when the school board did not participate in that decision. I made the motion myself to send it back, and that's unprecedented for the council to send it back to the planning board with the recommendation that it be changed to a priority 4 and taken out of the CIP. And the planning board acted on that recommendation and did exactly that.
True. Ron had indicated a possible vote that the board would be making. I think I'm the only one that's discussed what the vote would be on my part, and I think it's an unfortunate situation, but there's just no option. I would have much rather this been presented to the voters without a recommendation so that they could make their own mind up. But I will have more time to consider it before I enter the polls too, so. I have a motion and
Again, if I might, Mr. Chairman.
And by the way, just a point of order, the conversations that we've been having, because there is a motion and second on the floor, have been with the presenter of the petition and the Budget Committee. And I think that that's a reasonable position to take.
I just, from the perspective of it may be advisory and it may be non-binding, but you have to realize that if this gets 80% of the vote, you will have this project and it will be yours, okay? And I know that it hasn't come from the school board before, and it will now be a school board project. And I just want you to understand that as school board members, and you're sitting there now, you may not be there 2 years from now, but you're going to have to understand that if that happens, then I think you should be prepared for the result. Even though it's non-binding, there is going to be a turnout, and it's going to have a vote. And you're going to have to sit there and say, next year, you support an auditorium without telling the voters before they voted on this how you felt about it. So you're either going to vote on it now or you're going to vote on it next year. But one way or the other, you're going to have to take a position on it. I'm not trying to paint you into a corner, but what we're doing here is we're playing a cat and mouse game. Either it's yours or it's not. And you either support it or you don't. And it's really that simple. If you want it, then support it. If you don't want it, then don't support it. But I think you should tell the community how you feel about it.
Actually, John, I support the auditorium and I support it on the school side. But I'm not going to make a recommendation. I'm going to vote against this because of the process. I do not believe that we've been provided enough information and enough time to review it. Paul?
I had some thoughts swirling around in my head, and I think I'm going to step back for a moment and let others speak right now.
Do I have any further discussion?
Would the board want to consider removing it and just leaving it with no recommendation?
That can be done by withdrawing your motion.
Agreed. I'm asking what the board's pleasure is on that.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
No.
Have we moved it to the deliberative session?
Yes, it has been moved.
I've moved it to the deliberative session.
And we have a first and second on the floor,
and
whether to recommend it or not.
And Mary, the individuals that provided the first and the second.
Okay.
Myself and George.
Yeah, the guy who asked didn't think it even got seconded.
That's
how long ago it was.
I guess really the question is, where is the board's pleasure on either we vote to support it or reject it, or not make a motion on it?
Okay.
And that's really where we're going.
So, if you wanted to poll, I'll start here. I would recommend that we support it, but then I will support it, but I will also defer to the citizen who put the petition on. And if he's okay with us not making one way or the other, then I will defer to that, and which would mean I will withdraw my second.
I'm comfortable either way. I do honestly understand your position, Steve. The process has been what it has been. And unfortunately, that's what happens when we put things into committee. Sometimes, the philosophy in representative bodies of government is the quickest way to kill something is to refer it to committee. I will add that this has been on the school side of the CIP before this year. It was on the school side last year. In public comments made before, it was on the school side years before, and it was part of the school side $24 million initiative to build improvements to the school. So there's a record of the project being presented. I do understand your concern that it wasn't presented directly to the school board as part of our efforts to get it into the CIP this year. I'm comfortable either way. I think my preference would be that you take no position, as it's an advisory and it doesn't mention a dollar value. But I'm comfortable either way you go.
And I actually don't have a problem with the vote. I think I made my position very clear. I have the courage to take that vote, but at this time, Nate, if you could help me procedurally, because George has withdrawn his second.
No, I just stated that I would.
You stated that you would. Okay, good. Thanks. Let's continue the conversation. Dan?
A couple things from me. I agree with John. Sitting here for several years, I don't remember we've never taken a position on anything. And I don't remember the school board, Brian, ever agreeing to have the auditorium put into the CIP under the school. I know it was put in there and it's been there for a couple of years under that, but as a seated board member, I never remember anybody discussing it with me.
I think that's just a technicality of where it showed up. It does have to show up somewhere because there are only two bodies in town who are authorized to raise funds, school district or the town council.
But they wouldn't take it.
Well, that said, it would have been a little bit appropriate for somebody to approach the school board
it
during
certainly would have.
our CIP deliberation and I'm not trying to be obstinate, but give us the courtesy to have the discussion.
I fully...
Rather than seeing it on the document under the school. That's why we...
I understand that, and I fully respect that. In fact, it is brought to mind the fact that the council does not have CIP deliberations prior to indicating through the council's representative to the CIP committee our preference for projects.
I understand.
And I think that
it would
that's
just been
probably...
fair if somebody chatted with us.
And I think that my valuation on how to proceed with this, as I've worked this over the years, was based on my knowledge of how the council operates, where there's no discussion. It just suddenly magically appears, and that's the town's position, but the council never voted to support it either. So I understand your viewpoint. You should have had a presentation. I'll apologize for that in retrospect, but
I'm just stating my opinion.
You will have one next year and every year until construction begins.
Well, that's
less than 30 pages.
That said, if we do vote on this, I'm going to vote no as well. And a couple of reasons for that is, as I read this, it is, even though we say non-binding, I remember my first year on the board, it was continuous discourse and conversation and not so friendly relative to, well, the voters supported it, and even those words that you're recommending, John, non-binding, we spent meeting after meeting after meeting.
I think it was uniforms.
Saying that we didn't support the will of the people or the vote of the people. So just for those who haven't lived through that, I know John and Ron mentioned that the other evening, but I was also there that year. And I think...
Additional classroom.
Yeah, and it was both of those, right?
Well, it was also some curriculum issues that I recall. Yeah. That said, I also think that the right way to do this is, as Mr. Lincoln addressed the other evening, and I think I agree with him and sitting on several bonds that we put together, and we've also failed on a number of issues, or 3 or 4 years on the high school expansion. But we kept working it, we didn't give up, and we did take it to the voters in a number of cases and kept modifying it. And, the school district certainly owns partial property, and I just don't see this doing anything to clarify the situation. It says to vote to approve the planning in cooperation. Well, you've been planning it for several years now, and I really believe that John's commentary is, and I defer to what Ron said, but the governing body prioritized this project to the capital improvement program. Well, we are the governing body, so does this tell me that I have to put it in the capital improvement program without any knowledge relative to cost other than a $9.8 million as presented this evening? I would be in favor next year, when the capital improvement process begins, with more foresight, with somebody coming to me as a board member, making a presentation, requesting, giving me some substantive documentation relative to size, cost, where are we going to place this thing, et cetera, of potentially supporting it with that information. But if you ask me to vote tonight, I'm going to vote no.
Can I offer some additional comments, Steve?
Unfortunately, since we have a motion and a second on the floor, the public can't comment. However, should that change, I'll let you know, because the process is sometimes perplexing. Brian, you had a comment?
Yes, I would just, I guess that I would say that I do honestly, because I sit on that side of the counter on other nights of the week. I understand your predicament. However, I would have to say that the CIP process, if by actions or inactions by school boards or councils and capital planning committees and planning boards, if that process is not available, and basically, in a sense, what is being said is it's not available to citizens. This led to a lot of questions at the planning board. Who owns it? Where is it? Where's it going to be? I don't have that information. I can't vote on that. That's all a matter of public record on the planning board when this was discussed. If that position, if it's not available, if it's not an available process, and then all due respect to Mr. Lincoln presents his with a dollar value, because his question is actually quite different. He is asking you to expend money. I'm asking you through this petition article to participate in the process of putting it into the CIP. And if that isn't going to happen, then I'm put into position where I no longer can use that process to build this, to advocate for this. And if that isn't going to happen, I'm put in the position where the next time coming back won't be with questions like this. It will be a serious campaign to build it, and with dollar values and putting that in front of the voters. I mean, I've told you, our committee, we've decided this, we've wrestled over this. We do not want to use that process. We want to use the process that's available in the town, which is the capital improvements plan. We don't want to go through the other measures. And when looking at that other measure, it's been said, well, if you guys vote and raise this, we don't have to do it. Well, yes, you do. If the voters approve a $10 million thing next year for a performing arts center or auditorium, that's what'll get built. I'm not asking for anything I think unusual, although, yes, this is a hybrid because of the nature of the project. Frankly, I'm surprised that the school board hasn't been behind it since 2000, when 82% of the people responding to a survey said this is what they wanted. I'm puzzled why people haven't been behind it before now, why it hasn't been part of the process. That's all puzzling to a lot of people. Why is it deferred to committee, and why is it this committee of 4 individuals, the group that's studying it all this long? Those are all puzzling questions. So I'm comfortable. If you want to vote for it or not, I'm fine. I really honestly am. It's still puzzling to me why we are where we are. I was asked my preference. My preference would be you take no position. But I'm comfortable either way you go, because I have my work cut out for me anyway, just to get this approved by the voters in town.
I can't speak for the entire board. I'm going to take Ron next after I make a statement, and then I think Paul had something else. But although I can't speak for the entire board, I think it's pretty it's a pretty simple, to me, that a school auditorium belongs on the school side. And I don't think that's at all the issue here. So, and I'm getting a lot of shaking heads. So at least you found out where it belongs. Ron?
One of the things that, over the time, Brian, I'll be honest, and frank, is that kind of concerned me is while we talk about this being on the school side in a school auditorium, there are very few, if any, school people on it. And that's part of the problem and concern is that on something like this, if I was building a building at South School, Linda Kittering would be part of the process. When I built North School, Zach was part of the process, and Pat Williams was part of the process at the high school in development of the project, okay? Andy Susi, I would expect, as the music director, to be part of the process in here. It seems, if we want to go back in history on here and give a history lesson, is this project started out, a student at Londonderry High School came forward and he said, boy, it would be nice if we can raise funds privately to build a small auditorium on the property. That's where it came from. And it gained momentum and it became a project on the town side. And the answer is the school was working on the one set of assumptions, and when the 82% of the vote came, it became a much bigger project than originally set. And the town, basically, you said it had no orphan, it was an orphan project, but the town took it. It formed its own committee. It voted to have a committee on it. So the town took this project under its wings, formed a committee, and started to run with it. Now we're here and we're saying, okay, guys, it's the school district's project. If it's a school auditorium, okay, then it should be on the school property. There's no question in my mind. And I support a school auditorium, okay? And that's where it is. We weren't, I wasn't going to fight over where it is. The town took ownership of it. If I was to do this, I would form a building committee and a space needs committee for an auditorium, and I would go over there and I would pick several people on the school district and get community members, like we do on all our other projects, and put together that process. But I would have, on a school auditorium, Andy Susi, some of the other music people involved in the process, and then we would have that process. That's the part I think is missing here, and that's where I'm having a hard time, to be honest. Because if we're talking about planning here, the question I have is that really a true statement, or is it the plan that you have is what we're looking at? If we have this here and we try to form a committee and put some, the Andys on it and some other people on it, is that acceptable, or is this a done deal that this is the project?
And I hope I was clear in my opening remarks about what I shared with you as a statement of intent, that all of our studies to date point to a 1,000-seat auditorium. We looked at school population, we looked at the music department, the drama programs, we looked at all of the interested community groups who might like to use this outside of the school district, such as the different theater companies that we have and dance companies that we have that might like to rent this space. We addressed all of those types of issues that you probably would have looked at had this been a school building project. Frankly, it is puzzling to me why I'm working on it on a town committee and not a school committee. I have presentations going back to, I believe, 2001, where this was presented to the school board back then as a presentation. How do we proceed? How do we proceed? Frankly, it's still puzzling to me why it never moved over, right? Why didn't it? I don't know. And until it moves over, what you're basically saying, and I understand this because I agree 100% with you, until it moves over where it is a school district directed committee or participated in committee with Andy and other members of the community from the high school, other interested members of the community, myself, others, until it moves over to that committee, it doesn't merit a lot more further progress, right? This is to tell you what we think, where it ought to be. It's clear in the language to me that it's asking the voters to tell you they think it belongs on the school side of the equation. And whether, I don't want to say that there were intentional failures or purposeful direction given back sometime in the past, and that to just keep it out of the plan, but it's out of the plan. It's out of the system. The town of Londonderry won't build this as a separate project. I don't feel completely divorced from the schools. It makes no sense for any reason whatsoever. The land that has been offered or has been mentioned as, through our design charrettes by the architect's studies of where the best place would be, well, let's cut down the town forest and put it there. Non-starter. Let's bulldoze this apple orchard and put it right in the middle of it. That's where the drawings show it, right in the middle of the orchard, right behind this building. That is a non-starter, right? Let's put it up at Auburn Road because the town does own considerable amount of acreage there. Not very wise. The fact is that the largest user in town will be the schools. It belongs on property right behind the high school. If it's available, it belongs on school district property, located with the school, so that it can be maximized for that use. It's just you should be as puzzled as I am as to why we're not having this discussion with the school, with a building committee working under the school's purview.
Again, I'll go back. The committee started, it was funded by the town. I think they gave it $25,000 or $15,000 for the charrette.
There was a warrant article put on by the committee, but the committee had already been formed prior to that.
Right. Again,
we're an ad hoc committee appointed by the council.
Yes.
In fact, I asked the council at one point that if they weren't interested in proceeding with this project, vote to dissolve our committee or change or direct us not to work on, because we serve at their pleasure, direct us not to work on this project.
I think it's, in my mind, there's some protocol here where it's on the town side, so we wouldn't have formed our own committee because it'd be interfering with the committee that's already in existence for an auditorium. Because an auditorium's been discussed many times, and I've spoken to Andy about this and other people about it, an auditorium in the district. So I think it's a case of the protocol that there's one committee in town already started. Why would we want to start looking at something else and having two committees fight each other type of deal? And you were responding back to the town council. I mean, you reported to town meetings.
You start a committee, and I will personally urge and do my part on the council and as the chairman of the committee working on it to dissolve ourselves from responsibility for this project. You start a committee, we're done.
I have no problems. I'll be honest. I will make a motion to start a committee for a school auditorium. That's the easy part of it, using the work that you have, and we'll figure out how to do something like that. But I truly believe that we need to get the school people that are going to be the majority users on it on a committee like that, because they're the ones that are going to tell us yay or nay, and that makes sense or that doesn't make sense for what I need for a school type of auditorium.
And I think that would be the first act after this petition article is voted on the warrant.
Mm-hmm. And
the first act.
And I'll tell you, I'm sorry we're having this discussion on the 12th as opposed to last March sometime, and to get it going.
Just a reminder, we do have a motion on the floor and a second. I'm going to recognize Budget Committee member Frank Haggerty, and then Paul, and then John. And Frank, I'm recognizing you first because we haven't heard from you.
There you go.
And we've now set a new record. We've spent...
more time on this than we did on the budget.
Yeah, we spent about 3 minutes on $55 million, but...
45 minutes.
And this is nothing, so...
And that's part of...
I believe I still have it under control. So Frank Haggerty, please.
All I really wanted to say was that, we have a really large, non-binding referendum sitting up at the airport with a large plume that comes out of it. And I think this question begs for the school board to make a position tonight, either yes or no.
Okay. Paul?
And I respect what Frank's saying, but I guess the last 20 minutes or what have you since we began, since we did our first and second we've been covering a lot of territory that I think covers both what position do we take and do we take a position. And I'm trying to think through the facets of this and the different scenarios. And again, one of the things I come back to is this is a general question, not a lot of specifics. We have information in the minutes. There's been a lot of discussion over the previous months about this and what's likely to be. But it's a pretty simple question. I don't have a problem at this point pulsing the public again, getting their view on things. But if we take a position, for instance, in just a scenario here, if we take a position, or myself, if I vote yes on this, and the public comes forward and votes in a big majority, that still doesn't mean for as long as I'm on a governing board, I will necessarily fight to make this a priority in the next X number of years. I will simply engage, certainly in the planning with the town, with reference to the SIP, at least within my capacity as a member of this board. If I vote against it and it passes big, then that doesn't necessarily mean I won't do what I just said I will do. I could vote against it because I'm concerned I'm sending the message that, gee, we've got a South School bond coming up in a year or two. A couple years or so after that, we've got a district office coming up.
Going to lead right into what I'm going to do.
There's just a lot of things down the road that, as we said, somebody said, are needs versus wants, and somewhere you've got to draw the line. So I'm fully supportive of Brian's concept of, fine, let's go to the public and get another pulse from them on where things are at. But I don't know, I can't say for sure in any given person's mind what it will mean to them when the school board votes yay or nay, or what they expect if they as a majority vote yay or nay as a public. So again, my view is that we step back and go with Brian's suggestion that we do not take a position.
I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Yeah, John,
Okay, I'm
let the
sorry.
record show we're out of coffee.
I'm
John Silvestro?
going to give you just a little history. First off, what
Quiet,
year was
please, in
it,
the
Ron?
audience. No, we don't, no, we're out. We're out. We're
Ron,
out.
what year was it that we had the proposed high school with the auditorium?
1995.
Okay, I hold on. I just need John to repeat. I got to make sure that it was picked up.
Okay, I just want to do a little history here. In 1995, we proposed a $27.5 million high school, which would have been a new high school. The old high school would have been a middle school. The middle school would have become a middle elementary school, and it would have alleviated all of our problems. And the only thing we would have built since then would have been Moose Hill Orchards. That was $27.5 million. We got crucified because the $27.5 million included a $3.5 million auditorium. I mean, we literally got taken to the mat. So if you want to know why everybody who might still be involved today is a little bit skittish about auditoriums, there's your first seed, okay? The second seed, that is in 2001, there was a citizens questionnaire put out, and I will grant you the auditorium was supported to use taxpayer money with no dollar amount, okay? And I will agree that it was overwhelmingly supported. In 2001, this committee was still looking at high school additions to the tune of $12.5 million.
Yep.
And we also have been looking at in town replacing 2 fire stations, a police station, and a town hall, as well as building 7 soccer fields and assorted other things that we've been doing for the last 5 years. Okay? When this committee came forward, I'm going to say it as it is. The school board did not want it. They had enough things on their plate that needed to be addressed, and they didn't want it. You guys went to the town. Town said, oh, okay, we'll take it. You put a petition up, town took it. Town didn't want it either. They know it didn't belong there, but the town took it, okay? And you got put, and that's why I said the last time I spoke on this, it's an orphan. It's not fair. You guys either need to be prepared. I mean, we did the CIP. This got put in year 2011. Committee was not happy with 2011, okay? Paul's talking about in the next 3 or 4 years.
I'm sorry, just a clarification. The committee, you mean the...
CIP committee. It's out in year
Thank you.
6, which is 2011, 2012. The committee for the Performing Arts Center at the time, not auditorium, and that was another issue, is the name. It's changed now. It's no longer Performing Arts Center. Now it's an auditorium. They mean different things to different people. I don't think this committee is going to be content if this passes and the school board takes it and says, yeah, we'll look at it over the next 6 or 7 years. I don't think this committee is prepared to wait 6 or 7 years. Tell me if I'm wrong, but
You are
just...
wrong.
Huh?
You are wrong.
You are prepared to wait 6 or 7 years?
Definitely prepared to wait. What we're not prepared to do is to see this and to continue to fight as a, and I'll use the word bastard committee, working on a project that doesn't belong where it is on the town side. We're not prepared, but we will continue to fight every year, just like we have this year, to bring in the community support to the planning board. If we can't make it at the CIP, we'll do it in public comment at the
But
planning
it's
board
a commitment to you,
process.
and I'm asking
Our
this.
commitment is to continue to fight this.
Okay.
All right.
But if the
we
school
can't,
board takes it and says that it's a priority 2013 next year,
yep.
you're going to go along with that with no complaints to the planning board to change it?
As long as it is done through the study of a committee, a building committee appointed and designated by the school board, that we have, I would hope I would have an even shot at participating on that, as I'm probably the most knowledgeable person in town about this. As long as it's dealt with in a fair manner in the process, through the process changes, which I was instrumental last year in driving. I drove process changes that made this project much harder to accomplish.
I understand that.
But if it's not going to be treated fairly, we take it out of the process.
What I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to back up with Frank, that if you go on this with no recommendation, you know, what's silence is ascension, or what is it? Silence is
Concurrence.
agreement, okay? If you don't go on there with anything, you agree with it, and that way, if it passes, you own it, okay? And you're going to have to live with the consequences. If you feel that you will support this, and you don't have a problem with that, then you can leave it alone, but if you feel that way, you might as well vote to recommend it. If you're not going to do it if it passes, you should tell the voters up front that I don't agree with this, and I'm not prepared as a school board member to sponsor a 10 or 11, $12 million bond as the years go out for an auditorium. And that tells these people in this committee that they need to work the citizens petition route, because right now it's a big circle. It's not fair to them.
We want to get off this.
We want to get off the circle, and that's all I'm trying to do tonight. I'm not trying to spend 45 minutes or an hour here. I just don't want you guys to get caught in a trap, and I don't think they deserve to be put on another wheel. If you're not going to support it, you need to tell them. If you are going to support it, you need to tell them. And I think it's only fair that that happens. And if they need to go to the citizen petition route, they should know now that they need to start planning for that next year. And that's all I'm trying to work for. And if this were a town meeting, I'd move the question.
Yeah.
But I would have done that a half hour ago.
Note that I
Brian,
came.
Brian, no, wait. Let me bring it back to the board. John, if you're looking for a barometer on where the board stands on building an auditorium, I can't give you how the board stands. I can give you how I feel. Presently, we have a situation at South School where during the wintertime, the ice dams come down the side of those portables, and the kids could literally do ice climbing on those
That
dams.
one out here, too.
That was my next subject, but last night I participated in a tour along with other board members of North School. And North School now has appropriate brick and mortar space for our students. And frankly, the auditorium would fall second to appropriate space at South School in brick and mortar situation for our students. You mentioned the building next door. We have a school district office which presently has 27 to 30 people in something I would estimate is about 3 times the size of this room. And those that have not participated in a tour of that facility, I'm sure the superintendent will be happy to give them a tour.
But only one at a time, because there's no room for two.
That's right.
Back in the financial section, you are absolutely right. So there is that priority where that falls with the auditorium, because the auditorium is for students. I'm not sure right now. The reason I'm not sure is because we just began a conversation on this on the school board on Tuesday. And unfortunately, by the way, the reason it looks like I can't make a decision is, as the chair, I cannot change a motion or a second, but I can call for a vote. Okay, we won't remove it. And I'm sorry, my apologies to the public, because there's a motion, a second on the floor, we can't have a conversation. All in favor?
Well,
Wait.
I'll withdraw my motion. Too late? I will
You
withdraw
tell me,
my-
Nate.
Yes, he can withdraw a second, and then he can withdraw his original motion.
As long as we haven't voted.
Yes.
Even though I called for it.
Yes.
All right.
I'll withdraw my second.
And I'll withdraw my motion. Now it's up to the board if they want to vote for it or against it. Now they have all the options.
Actually, I know that we spent 45 minutes on this, but I am going to, because now we can legally have the public speak, I'm going to give the public an opportunity to speak if they wanted to.
Absolutely.
Please. And my apologies. You'll have to understand, I know you said you just heard about the meeting, but we run very open school board meetings and search out public conversation. So, and since this is a public hearing, be happy to hear you.
Thank you. I feel like I need to make this really good now, but I came tonight because...
Reed Page Clark is very pleased that you're here. And if you don't know Reed, you will soon.
I read.
Only
Okay, great.
499 to go.
But Laura Alazum, 22 Summer Drive again. I just wanted to give people who might be struggling with a vote on this, just the opinion of one taxpayer. This discussion has gone back several times to the idea that the results of this vote are going to be treated as a referendum on whether or not the people of Londonderry want a new auditorium built. And I wish that if that was the intent, that there had been a question asking if we favored building a new auditorium. Instead, what we have is a very convoluted question that seems simple enough in the beginning when it asks if it's okay to just do some planning, which is why I asked my original question, why do we need to approve planning when it sounds like that's already been going on quite a bit? And then there's this other stuff that seems to ask people who aren't in this room necessarily to agree to support something somewhere down the line at another meeting. And it all seems very backdoor. And furthermore, if you asked people, do you want a new auditorium? I'm sure a lot of them would say yes. Maybe most of them would say yes. But if you ask people, do you want a new auditorium that's going to cost us $10 million before we consider purchasing land and before this gets bumped out to 2013, which will add another $1 million. And oh, by the way, we need this list of things that's on the priorities list. I'm not sure you'd get the same answer. And if this is going to be treated as a referendum, then I wish you'd vote no to sending it to the other meeting, because it's not worded as a referendum, and I'm all in support of citizens making petitions. I've done it in the past, and I think it's great when people get involved, but this really seems backdoor to me. It doesn't seem like it says what it's going to be used to say later.
Are you going to address the law?
Yeah, that's the only thing that we can't do, is not send it to the meeting.
Okay, sorry. I wish that you would, if you vote against it, it will be sent to the meeting, but it will be without your approval.
Correct. And at this time, there's no longer a motion on the floor, so we would have one other option. We could send it to the meeting without a recommendation, and then it would be at the polls on the date, March, whatever the date in March is, we'll find out later. It would be at the polls without a recommendation. So there's three options. The school board could motion to support this item, or not support, or a mix of support, and then, or the board could send it to the polls without a recommendation. The one thing we can't do is we can't stop it from going to a vote.
I misspoke.
The citizen that submitted the petition could withdraw the petition, but we cannot take any action on it at all.
I misspoke, but what I wish would happen is if this is going to show up in front of the 500 or so who assemble in the future, that it would not come with your support. This is the sort of thing that drives people away from participating in politics, because it just doesn't say what it means. And it isn't going to be, the answer that people give is not going to be used in the way that I think people who answer it are intending their answer to be taken. Sorry if it's getting late, but
No, I thought what you said was very clear and simple. Bob, we do have, is that okay, Bob? We have public comment open since I'm the chair. I'm going
Make
to let
one
him come up.
comment about the referendum.
Oh, please, if it's
status.
related to that.
It is. It's very definitely related to your comment. The wording of the article was passed by the school district's attorney, and this is considered by the school district's attorney an advisory article only, which is distinctly different from a referendum. But I understand your criticism.
Bob?
Yes, I probably shouldn't be here where I have the other article for petitions. But I guess...
And Bob Lincoln is speaking.
Bob Lincoln, yes.
There's a
I'm
road
sorry.
named after him at the school.
Said this the other night, and I say it again. I really think there's not one person up there that's against an auditorium, and there's probably no one down here or in the audience against the auditorium. What it is what's being the procedure. And I really, truly believe that the petition should be withdrawn. The committee should come to the school board in March after the election, give a presentation to the school board. The school board hopefully appoints a committee to take the project and go forward with it. Because I just think it's like the last time it came before the voters. It's going to be a sour apple, and it's all lost. And I supported the auditorium when we built a new high school, or tried to build a new high school. I really think the community needs the auditorium. But we get close, and you've done a good job, your committee's done a good job, but I just think it's going to lose, or it's going to divide the community. And in the end, even if it passes, that division is going to show up when and if the auditorium comes before the voters with the money. So I guess, again, I think you really should seriously consider withdrawing the petition, come to the school board in March, present your proposal for a committee, establishing a committee, because I agree with you, Brian. It's just been tossed between the town, and then it gets put on the school board, and I was on the school board. I'd feel the same way that some of these school board members feel, that all of a sudden they have something on their CIP that they had no input at all, and they're trying to plan the educational facility. So I guess, again, I just think, Brian, you really should consider, and then come back to the school board after the March meetings and move forward and, put together a good proposal. I don't think there's anyone up there that's going to try and kill it or give the committee a hard time.
Answer that.
To that, before you do, to that point, Nate, I'd like you to, we don't have an attorney with us this evening, so can you give us what Bob's asked for? What would be the legal
I
requirements?
don't think Brian would be authorized to withdraw the petition. What I think would have to happen would be all the signators to the petition, or a majority, would have to agree to withdraw it. So though Brian's a spokesperson and probably was the author of the petition, I don't think he by himself can withdraw the petition.
I could speak to that in a much easier way. Authorizations aside, I was not the author of the language. It was authored and voted by committee.
Okay.
I don't have, as chairman of a committee, as chairman of the school board or anything, you don't have the authority to act on your own. So sitting here, I don't have the authority, I don't feel, by just the ethics involved, forget the legality, at least the ethics involved, I don't have the authority to withdraw it. I do understand and respect, Bob's opinion, but reality is we just need to move this thing along.
All right, thank you. Dan?
John's right. I was here in 1995, too. And Bob's right. And Ron's right. I think we're all right. And Brian's right. The school board, well, I can't speak for everybody, but I would support an auditorium as a school project discussed with us, or discussed with whoever the seat of board is, and put a committee together. But in that kind, I'll wait. I was going to make a motion, Steve, that we do not support the petition.
Oh, wow. We have a motion to not support the petition. Do I hear a second? Hearing none, it dies for the lack of a second. Any further conversation or motions?
Steve, can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
I know that this is a public hearing on the budget. As you are sitting as a school board tonight, do you have the authority to make a motion to form a committee?
That's what I'm writing right over here. And I was asking the chair if we possibly could have the superintendent come up with a charge for a committee to be presented at our meeting in February before the vote, to give the people an opportunity to know that we will form a committee to look at an auditorium. And that's where I would like to fall. That's where I would like to be, to establish a committee.
And I can tell you that my full intention is that if you don't form a committee, I have no business working on this anymore. And I think you know me, that I'm not going to work on it anymore. If you don't form a committee, what's the point? It's not going anywhere.
But I would like to have an understanding that the commitment that Ron's making, or what he's looking to direct the superintendent, have the school board direct the superintendent to do, is to form a committee. And that would be at the February 7th meeting. I don't believe that committee would have enough information to take a position on the project by the time the vote occurred.
No, they wouldn't, but they would have the ability to form, decide what their ground rules are going to be, how to act as a building committee, and then move forward with your direction.
It would be the start, not the end.
It would be
I think it's where you want to get to. If you read this article, that's where you really would want to get to. And that's what John was talking about the often, is form the committee and let's get going. And then we'll have a position, we'll have an idea of where it would fit in the CIP as we go into the...
And then as long as it's being treated in a fair process and where it belongs, then I'm satisfied with that.
I would support that. Other board members?
I would support that.
Yes.
Just a point of
Dan?
Clarity. So we're not taking any position on this
I believe if...
petition?
Well, first of all, we got the committee, and based on the committee
Well,
being...
bear in mind, on committees, the superintendent doesn't form a committee. The board forms a committee.
I asked him to form a charter.
Prepares a charge.
Well, the superintendent prepares the charge. That's what I'm asking.
Correct.
That's what I would like to see for the February 7th meeting.
Correct. And I'm okay with that.
At this point, we could make a motion to close the public hearing, and I assume that this would go to the polls without a recommendation
Yes.
of any kind.
If there's no motion, no recommendation.
Now I'll make the motion I want to do. Based on the fact that we are going to form a committee, I would move that we not support this article because it'd be a duplication of what we're doing here, and that would be the fact. We don't need, we're going to form a committee to do it.
Point of order.
Yo,
We've
Sure,
always
John.
done this. Shouldn't you make the motion to accept it and then vote, and that way it shows it the correct way? 7-2, 5-2,
Okay.
1-1-5. I mean, we've always done it that way. You've always done it in the positive and taken the vote, and if it fails, it fails.
Talking about taking a vote to form a committee? Is this
Let me address John's point of order question. The problem with that, John, is then we're sending to our citizens' point. We're making the matter rather complex, and we're sending the message that we don't support this, yet we're forming a committee.
right.
Again, like one of our earlier articles. The
what
whole
all
goal was to
bureaucracies
make
do.
the comment as simple as possible.
We're trying to improve on that
I'm sorry.
bureaucratic process, John.
Okay, I'll take your, I'll
Yeah, I mean,
withdraw.
I would think that if we just let it go and form the committee, we've accomplished what we want to accomplish.
And to go back to my first comment,
I think, but
just go back to my first comment, as crude as it was, and then the process is not polluted. And just, there's no motion, so this is a public hearing, and we have a citizen excited to speak.
I know where Brian is. He's only here for as a spokesperson, but he has a committee. The deliberative session is the 10th or 11th of February. They have time between now and the 11th of February to come into the deliberative session and ask that the school board to delete the petition off the vote in March in the school board. I don't know, you're going to have to check with legal counsel because this is a petition, not a school board article. But I think if they...
It might take a quorum.
Well, I don't know. If they withdraw...
I don't know either, but,
What's that?
in other words, what Bob's asking for may take a quorum in order to remove it,
I
since
will
it's a
double check,
citizen's
but I
petition.
do not believe
No?
a quorum at a school district meeting can delete
A petition. It
petition
does-
warrant article.
You can't touch
Cannot
them.
do that.
But when can the petitioners withdraw it?
I'm going to do this.
Do you know the answer, John?
The petition, as far as I know, can be withdrawn at the deliberative session by the
Yes.
petitioners.
Right.
By them.
That's
Yes.
By
what
only
I'm
by the
saying.
petitioners.
Brian, if they form a committee, then I guess what I'm saying is, you know,
If they form a committee, will I stand up the Cultural Resources Committee to take a vote to withdraw the petition?
yes, the committee.
Nate, if you can give me a legal ruling between now and then, whether or not the committee has the authority to do that, since it's qualified for the ballot with 57 signatures. There's 62 on here, 5 didn't make it.
I would,
I would entertain making the motion and asking the committee if they would support it. I can make that.
Sure.
I can ask them that question at our next meeting, which takes place before the
I will
deliberative
ask,
session.
I will ask counsel, but unless you had something that said that people on the committee were delegated the powers given to them by all the people that signed the petition warrant article. There are
I'm
two
not-
different issues here. You've got a petition warrant article that was signed by X number of people. And if you have a committee of 20, let's say, or 10, 4, I am not sure that
5
4
votes are tough.
people can then negate the will of the other
I don't-
48.
I don't think we can.
No,
I
you
think
need-
our hands are
but-
tied.
Needs to get the 48 people to say
You
okay.
don't.
No?
You have to have 25 signatures to have a petition, right?
So you got to get it under 25. If you have, he has 52 people signing it, he has to have 28 people there
People saying-
withdrawing their names off the
Right.
Right,
petition.
you don't need 52. All you need is 28.
Yeah.
But,
There'll only be 32 people in the room.
right.
Well, it has to be
Those
off
30.
this list.
Yes. Oh, well.
From a time, no, I'm sorry, but this is important, I'm sorry, but from a timeline point of view, the deliberative session is before our meeting of the 7th.
No, is it? No, it's the 10th.
Never mind, we're all set.
Mr. Chairman, again, one more point of order. I have to say this, because this is not about the auditorium. This is about a precedent, okay? If you do not take a position on this tonight, next year, when some citizen comes with a petition to eliminate 15 of the buses at the high school because nobody rides them, you will not be able to take a position. Okay? If you do not take a position on his, I, as a citizen, or any citizen, I bring forward any petition, as ridiculous as it may be, I will challenge you on the fact that you took a position on mine and not on his.
Mr.
It
Chairman?
has nothing to do with the auditorium. So if you're prepared to do this henceforth with all citizens' petitions, that's fine. That's your precedent, because you're going to have to defend why you want to judge mine and not judge this one.
I'm mindful of John's comments about setting a precedent. As the petitioner, I would request respectfully that you take a position tonight. I understand and know that it can taint the process, but frankly, I don't think it will in this instance because I know what the community support level is for this project. I think I have a good grasp of that. So I'm willing to roll the dice here, and please, I request you take a position.
Brian, I'm not going to ask Mary to go back through, but at one point, didn't you indicate that you would...
Would be my preference.
You would prefer that we not take a position?
Yeah, I'm withdrawing that remark if that's what needs to be done. I mean, as you discuss and as you begin to look at different viewpoints, and that's what we're doing, John's viewpoint about a precedent, I think he's actually pointing out something that's very clearly dangerous, in that if you don't take a position here, you could be challenged, exactly as John says, for not taking positions on other.
Before we go to Nate, you could also compare this to Bob Lincoln's petition tonight, but the large difference, at least for me personally, is I know about Bob Lincoln's petition was because he's presented it year after year after year. Nate?
I'd like to make a suggestion to the board. I would like to suggest to the board that it does take a vote on this petition warrant article. If in fact I understand the action the board is contemplating, that is prior to the meeting, it's the board's intention prior to the meeting on deliberative session on the 10th, that the board will entertain a charge or take some potential action. If the board's rationale for voting no on this is because the board feels that there's another avenue to take, and therefore explains that avenue at the deliberative session, that substantiates your vote one way if you're voting in the negative on this. If it's the intent of the board not to do that, or the board has another way of approaching it, or the board is in actual agreement with the petition warrant article, then I believe you should vote in the affirmative on it. Whether the vote is 5-1, 3, well, it can't be 5-1, 4-1.
Unless you're going to vote, Nate.
This hour, Nate, it might be 6-2.
Whatever the case. But I think the point is well taken. I would not like to see the board give up, I think, what is, what's the best way to put it, their moral position or moral authority on items that appear on their warrant. And I think in absence of a vote, that in fact you do that, and that you do, and I would have to agree with John on this, you do open yourself up to an issue of, well, you didn't vote on Brian's, but you voted on Bob's. So I think to be consistent, and the board, from what I'm hearing, is developing a position that runs concurrently, but is a position that is board-driven, perhaps pulling in other people, and is perhaps clearer than what appears in the petition warrant article, for lack of a better term. So my recommendation to the board, for good or ill, is that you make a motion and either vote this petition warrant article up or down. The board has already discussed that they're possibly looking at another tack to address the same issue, that there will be at least one discussion regarding that prior to deliberative session, and that depending on what happens with that board member, as member of the board and or as a citizen, can address this petition warrant article as it stands. But I think if you're objecting to this on a procedural basis, there's one way to vote. If you're in concurrence with it, there's another way to vote. But I would suggest to the board that they consider the voting up or down on the particular article. And
George had something.
Honestly, I think Nate addressed it, because it had to do with us going forward, saying, let's form a committee, and then not supporting the article, or supporting the article.
And if the petitioners were to withdraw this, our support or not support wouldn't be on the ballot.
correct.
And I'll have to say for myself, the reason this is difficult is I truly do support it at the right time with the right information.
Right.
That's why this is so hard. Tom had something.
I don't know what the law is in it, but I would suggest that since you can't use a power of attorney to have somebody sign on your behalf a petition. You have to be the actual signature. I would suggest that since it's been filed, wherever you file at the clerk's office, if you could withdraw it, you would need every single person that signed that thing to withdraw it, to say that. And to suggest that anybody could do that, otherwise, I think you'd be running into trouble.
It poses a legal question, and we'll check. The petition was filed within the deadline, it had X number of signatures on it. I don't know, I don't know if it would require everybody who signed it, or take John's thing, just getting it below the 25, whether you can withdraw it after you commit to it, whether you can withdraw it at deliberative session. We'll ask the attorney and get a legal opinion. And my idea, and anybody's, is just, I've never come across this before,
Right.
so I
And
I don't know what
We
to
will
tell you.
have, at deliberative session, we will have counsel present.
Yes.
You will be researching this before then, but I just wanted to let everybody know. So
Nate.
that's options available to us. Petitioner, Brian.
Another thought strikes me based on what Tom said and then Nate's commentary too, is that I think that if you act after the petition filing deadline to remove signatures, that you probably run the risk of a signatory who doesn't want to remove their signature of challenging the legality of removing the petition based on the fact that you're past the deadline for them to then act to get more signatures. This is a really convoluted thing. I think you just, I'm not going to act without really good legal advice to recommend anything regarding this petition.
We're all going to the lawyer.
Yeah.
My recommendation to the board, and Brian, to you, and during the hearing here, is we will get a legal clarification as to what can and cannot be done. All of us are doing, with the best intentions and knowledge,
I understand.
is developing suppositions as to what or what cannot be done. We'll get an appropriate legal opinion, and we'll take it from there.
Well, I'm going to pass the gavel.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
And John's correct. I'll make a motion to support the petition.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Opposed? So the motion was to support the petition, the citizens' petition, and the vote was 1 to support it, 4 to not support.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Motion to close the public session?
I would simply like to, I'd simply like to thank our member of the public for coming out tonight. It was refreshing.
We certainly hope you'll be back.
Okay, just to order for a second, please. I'm sorry.
Come back,
I know
please.
it's kind of like church and everybody's putting their coats on, but George has brought up the point on this article, who would motion it, who would second it, and who would do the presentation. The presentation part is easy. I'm sure that would be Brian.
I'll move it
I don't,
if we need to move it. Sounds good.
Yes.
I'll second.
that's okay?
Second.
All right,
I'll
thanks.
second.
You understand why I'm perplexed about that?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, just.
Because you can move the question even though you're not supporting it.
Yes.
Thank you, yes.
Yes.
All right, so we have, you got that, Nate?
Dan and George is seconding, or who's seconding?
Paul is going to move it, and Dan second.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yep, and Brian presenting.
Yes, and Brian, we knew that.
And we will have the committee prior to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And just after we
What
close
they're
the public,
asking for,
after we, could I have order, guys, in the back, please? Please? After we close the public hearing, there'll be just a couple of statements beyond that, so just if you could just keep it down, and then we'll do the adjournment. Seeing that there's no further business to conduct in this public hearing, look for a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
A motion to close the public hearing in a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? public hearing's now closed. Just a comment to those of you that may be watching television, when this gets shut off, the replay is on for our session on Tuesday. Potentially following that replay, or even now, it will be the Budget Committee. So I don't want people watching the television to be confused with seeing us again in a different set of clothes, or the Budget Committee. Once again, 500 voters. We'd like to have at the polls 500 citizens, and we've got one, so we need 499 more.
And the one just ran in.
And read, so we probably need 498. Thank you very much. Appreciate everyone's time. And a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yes, you do.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. And please remember, if you're in this room, you're